Down, finish
I'm
that
done.
lunch.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, good. Hey, you're allowed to eat while we record if you want. Just mute it. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
You can. By the way, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Not the eating thing. On calls, and I work remotely, so I'm on
Conference
Zoom
calls, yeah.
or Teams calls all the time.
Mhm.
People don't know how to mute themselves.
Oh yeah, it's
And
always an older person too.
If we're
generally.
doing a recording like this, right? We're all on a Skype call. We need to stay unmuted. We can react to each other. That's
Sure.
not what work calls are. Work calls, especially meetings, you stay unmuted and you're like talking to people in the background. Your cat's making noise. You got your window
Well,
open.
in a meeting, there should be really only one person talking too. So like, just
Absolutely.
Unless they're asking
unmute
someone,
yourself.
you know.
Yeah, unmute yourself as you're spoken to.
So I will often, and I've said this as like the resident nerd on our team. I have said things like, "Hey, just as a reminder, friendly reminder, if you're not speaking, it's better to mute yourself. Even if you don't think you're making noise, your mic's probably picking up background noise." I try to be very politically correct, political and tactful with it, and people still don't get it. So I'll go through on Microsoft Teams. You can mute people,
Yeah.
and
there you go.
without fail, someone will be like, "I don't know what happened. I got muted." It's just like, yeah, I'm
I
muted.
want you to hear my background.
You were screaming at your children in the background, so I muted you.
Well, usually it's a lot of like,
Right.
and it's like, can you stop? Can you stop doing that?
Or the clickety clacks, they just for some reason just type in like a freaking novel in the background.
Yeah, the worst offenders are the people who use their built-in laptop mic and then they type on their laptop during the meeting unmuted. So I'm like, not only are you using a mic that's connected to where your keyboard is, you're typing loudly and we can all hear, and you're clearly not engaged in the meeting because you're typing to someone else. You're not chatting with us. So anyway, I digress. Soapbox over. Let's start episode 82 of the Current Gen podcast. My name's Tim, here with Kyle, Jeff, and Dan. Welcome, gentlemen.
Old people suck at technology.
Halfway there.
They do.
We are old people now, just FYI.
No, we're not. No.
We are recording during the day, which we rarely do. And so thank you guys for making time to do this. Here's one of the reasons that it helped me a lot to move back. I could have made Friday work probably, but it allowed me to do, we had an event last night with our foster care agency, and then I got to stay at the hotel where it was. They gave us a free stay with our older kids, did the hotel pool thing and watched the movie thing and all that stuff. Then this morning, of course, no one slept great because it's a new place and we're all shoved into these two little adjoining rooms. And then we get up, get McDonald's breakfast. Horrible idea. Okay. That was a bad idea. Not because it tastes bad, because McDonald's always tastes good. And then it's a little bit later, you're like, oh.
Yeah. I made a mistake. I made a mistake.
Because right from there, we went to the kids' soccer game. So I'm sitting at the soccer game going like, oh.
Here we go.
This isn't great. So anyway, that was my evening, night, and day so far today. So this is my chance to take a breath.
So you and Kyle were probably heavy pooping around the same time, is what you're saying.
No, I threw up my one chip challenge.
Oh, okay.
So it didn't pass through me.
Yeah, Kyle tried this one chip challenge that all the kids are doing.
Challenge.
Yeah, and I've done every single one of them, but this one, I think it was made from the same thing that like mace is made out of. The thing that you attack people with. And I put it inside of my body.
Kyle, this is.
I threw about an hour later. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. I've done like 1,000 of these, and
this is by no means an insult to you, Kyle. But I was saying earlier that I'm sick and tired of these people saying they're doing some kind of challenge when they're referring to something that's not challenging.
Yeah,
you're not exerting.
Is very challenging. So
you're not exerting any sort of physical effort. You're not.
Sure, you are. Yeah, try
using
one of these
your
chips.
mind.
I promise, it's physical.
I think you're referring to dance challenges, which is like, come on, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan. Like the ALS challenge, just dump water on each other while we're going through a drought, and I'm not into all that stuff. I'm all about I'm all about like fixing.
Just donate
issues.
the money, right?
Just donate the money though. You don't need to like waste water in a peak drought year.
Dude, I remember my grandpa died of ALS around like a little bit after or a little bit before that challenge.
I'm sorry.
And I was like, can we just like donate money? This is stupid.
Exactly. Yeah, like I'm all about the exposure and like donating the money, but like you don't have to turn it into like a pageantry thing.
That's what I did. I did eventually get nominated to do that, and I said I'm not doing that. I'm donating money, and I said that publicly.
Good.
Nice.
And then I didn't even nominate people to do it because I'm like, I'm not gonna burden people with stupid crap like this.
That's how those always go, right? It's like, I'm doing this for raising money for ALS, and they do it. They go, all right, I'm gonna nominate Daniel, Kyle, Jeff. You guys are up. Like,
And if you don't, you hate charity.
Just
Yeah.
like this, like
Wow,
nah, dude,
thanks.
nah. Like, nah, bro.
yeah, thankfully, no. If I have been tagged in those things, I never know about it because I don't really check that. So the only reason I'm on Facebook typically is my wife will tag me in family pictures and for our podcast group. And then otherwise, I use Twitter as kind of a quasi news / hot take feed. I'll go through
Same.
Twitter
Same here.
sometimes. I don't really post on there a lot. I don't tweet a lot, I guess is the way
I
to say
wouldn't
it.
know what people are mad about if I wasn't on Twitter.
Same.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Jeff is my guy who's on Twitter, so I don't have to be on Twitter.
There you
So
go.
Yeah,
I just check
exactly.
out Jeff. What are people mad
I'm on
about
Twitter
today?
for other people too. I
all-
provide a service.
We're all
He's your
covered.
tweeter. He's your tweeter.
It's funny. I do check Twitter quite regularly, and I get sports, video games, and then sometimes just broad headlines there, and then sometimes just either friends or people that I like following. I think they're funny or whatever it is. Otherwise, I don't know. I just don't. I'll never know if I'm tagged in most challenges. Is what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Tim,
You'll
you
have to-
shouldn't call women broads, by the way.
Wow.
Don't call women.
My
I'm
bad.
sure you didn't say that. You did. You're the sexist
Yeah,
now.
yeah, right. I like how you're projecting your sexism. That's funny.
I'm a projectionist.
I said the word broad in no reference to females at all, and Daniel's like, he's talking
Dan's
about
like,
women.
wow, like the Kill Bill music. you know?
Clearly talking about ladies.
Kill some-
All right, well, let's jump into some news. There's a lot of news to cover this week, so we wanted to get this going first before we talk about things that we're playing, because there's also some really cool games that came out this week. But first, let's go into some news. I want to start with the rumor that is the most intriguing to me of all the rumors that I've seen recently, and that's that Quantic Dream is apparently developing a Star Wars game. There's been several different leaks around this. Reportedly, of course, they're going to be featuring more action than studio's previous titles. I shouldn't say of course, I guess, but I would assume that's the case.
Yeah, that's actually shocking if that's true. Like,
Yeah, and I don't know what that means either. So
So I loved Detroit. We talked about Detroit recently, or maybe we
Mm.
just were in our chat about it. I love Detroit. I thought that was a really
Too.
great game. I thought they
Same.
even included some cool action moments, even though you're not the one doing a lot of the actions. It's quick
if that's
event.
what they're talking about, I'm totally fine with that. Then
Yeah,
Like,
if it's a story-based Star Wars game with multiple branching paths like Detroit, and there's some quick time events, I will be very happy with that because we have other Star Wars action games. On the other hand, if Quantic Dream decides we're going to actually go action where you've got a light attack, heavy attack, skill tree, if they go
Right.
that route, I'm also intrigued to see what they do there because I like what they've made. I like the games that they've made. I'm
when
curious.
it's way outside of their wheelhouse,
Yeah.
I would love to see
they've
them.
literally never
try
made a
something
game
like
like that. Yeah.
I hope there's a Jason character in this game.
I don't, Jason. Yeah, I really don't know how to not be excited.
I have the
about
high
this.
ground, Jason.
Yeah, Jason, come at me.
Jason!
You turned her against me. Anyways, no, I have a hard time not being excited about this. I know I'm like, oh yeah, Star Wars. Like, of course, Kyle's gonna
Wait,
like
you
it.
like
But
Star
like,
Wars?
I know, yeah, I'm a big fan. Quantic Dream is one of my favorite studios. Like, I love Heavy Rain. I love what was the one with Ellen Page,
Beyond
Elliot
Two
Page?
Souls.
Beyond Two Souls. I love that game. I love all
Willem
of their
Dafoe.
games really. William Dafoe, yeah,
Willem
absolutely.
Dafoe.
I've heard of him. I don't know why.
Godspeed, twins. Or whatever.
Quantic Twins, yeah.
Godspeed,
Whatever he
Ellen
says in
Page.
that game.
So I'm all in. I couldn't be more all in on this one. So
Yeah. Are you in the same boat, Kyle? Like if they stick to the formula that's worked for them?
Oh, I don't
in the Star
care.
Wars universe,
Yeah,
you're done with that?
in fact, that's kind of what I anticipate, and I kind of want that almost, because I feel like the best moments of Knights of the Old Republic are those moments where you're in a dialogue, like talking and making decisions, and like if there's a whole game that's going to be about that. Because let's get real, no one plays Knights of the Old Republic for the gameplay. It's pretty.
At least
it's
not
pretty bad.
now.
It's
Back
pretty
then,
bad at this
yeah.
point. Yes, at this juncture.
What would be
But
cool is
those-
if think about Detroit right at the beginning. I think it's Colin who you control at the beginning, right? Isn't that the
Mhm.
character?
Yeah.
And there's some decisions you make right out the beginning that
Oh, yeah.
drastically affect the
Good.
entire game, let alone his
Yeah.
story. I would love to see in the Star Wars universe, give me one of those games where, all right, I'm going to replay it and make different decisions and see totally different stuff. And I would-
Yeah. I'm
My,
telling you, even if it's a Star Wars droid who's becoming sentient, and we're like, oh, we're doing this story again, I'm
Yeah.
still in. Like, I'm
I'm in too.
like,
Yeah.
so there's any way you slice how what this game's gonna be, I'm all about
We're
it.
doing this again. Really?
Yeah, who
Quantic?
cares? Yeah, whatever. C-3PO's a human now. Why not? Cool.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law to this day will still bring up to like random people when like we're in a gathering. I showed like my wife's family, like I showed them that first mission or that first story there of Detroit Become Human with the kid and the Daniel android, like, you know, hanging off of the ledge of the skyscraper. Like he still brings that up to people. He's like, he couldn't handle it. It was like too stressful for him, and he was just watching me play it. So like, imagine just something like of those emotional highs in like a Star Wars game. Like that would be super awesome.
I'm super glad you brought that up because I forgot that entire sequence. And it is absolutely stressful.
Yeah, it's intense.
And very, very good game design and a way of doing those types of games. So
actually less intense depending on what decisions you make.
Sure.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. If you're quick on the trigger, that situation can diffuse.
No, yeah, I think I ended up shooting him as soon as he gave me the option to. It was like, oh, you can shoot him now because I found the gun.
Screw that kid. Screw that terrorist. Whatever.
But
there is an option to talk him off, quite literally talk him off the ledge. Like he drops the kid and he's like, I'm sorry, and I didn't realize that. I just shot him right away.
Yeah. That level of detail in a Star Wars game like that would just be bonkers. Like imagine actually having like let's just say you carve this out and like. I don't know if they do this with Star Wars, if it's like, this is its own universe. I think they tend to try to keep everything within the universe, right?
I don't know. I wish there was someone here who could answer that.
But like imagine it being its own universe and like actually having main characters like killed off, like characters that we know from the movies and the shows and all that. Like that'd be crazy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, at this point, Disney said that any game that comes out is canon.
Okay.
But also, like the new Knights of the Old Republic game that got announced, like there was like a note that said like is not beholden to Disney canon. So I'm like, I don't really know what's going on right now. But originally, whenever the deal was made, Disney said that any book or game or anything going forward is in universe. So if we're still playing by those rules, hard and fast rules, then yeah, I mean, you could have characters show up in this that die in this game that are like maybe important characters. Or fan favorite characters from other existing mediums. So
yeah, I wouldn't mind that, but part of me also really likes, this is why we'll talk about Star Wars Visions, that show as well, and at least the first episode, because I haven't finished the whole series yet, but the first episode did a good job of, I don't think they really included any characters that we knew. Am I forgetting something? So it was all characters.
I think there's only one episode with familiar characters.
And so I loved that.
One you and I talked about.
Introduced me to characters, make me care about them or hate them, whatever. I'm, like, I want to experience that, and then like I kind of want it to be in one story that lives on its own. But who knows?
If I could choose, I'm with you, Tim. Yeah. Just the universe is too big to be talking about the same 15 characters. So.
I don't necessarily need to see John Boyega come in as Finn, or I don't necessarily need that.
I could, you know what? And I like Finn, and I like the sequels. I could never see Finn again, and I'd be fine. So.
Agreed.
We don't. Agreed. Yeah. I mean, there's too much to explore to be like, let's just keep on fixing what we have here.
Let's keep fixing it.
Fixing is the keyword.
Well, hopefully we'll find out more about that in the near future. I'd love to hear that confirmed. That is still, to be fair, a rumor, but it sounds pretty solid because EA, of course, is not the only company with the Star Wars license. Now you got Ubisoft and others that are now available, and in some cases confirmed to be working on Star Wars games. I'd love to see a Quantic Dream take on that. So hopefully that's the case. An updated collection, this was a rumor, now confirmed. Updated collection of classic Disney games will include the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin, as well as adding Jungle Book, which was not part of the collection before. And that's coming out November 9th. I still don't have confirmation if this is a free update or a paid update if you already own that collection, or if it's just the new version of that collection. I don't know for sure, but that is on all the major consoles. I mean, if you have PS5 and Xbox Series X, you can just get the last gen version and play it. So there you go. This is interesting. Apple and Epic still getting along super well. Apple informed Epic that Fortnite will be blacklisted from their ecosystem until the exhaustion of all the court appeals, which could be as long as 5 years.
Yeah, like I think that it is like quote unquote concluded, like the actual trial or whatever, but like there's still like stuff kind of going on, like the aftermath, and this is part of that apparently. So real mature, guys, real mature.
I was gonna say this is like the biggest like dick measuring contest I've ever seen. Like, we're big, we don't need your money, and Fortnite's like same. And it feels like both of them are just like standing their ground on whatever the disagreement is here, and whatever,
just launching lawyers at each other basically.
Yeah. Hey, let's just draw this out.
Yeah. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Well, listen, Far Cry 6 is not gonna feature ray tracing on PS5 and Xbox Series X.
Yeah,
that's kind of a bummer.
Sarcastic, sad faces.
It's kind of a bummer, but not really. I mean, this game's still
Yeah.
going to look great on the new consoles. It's going to look great on PC.
I mean,
still think it's gonna look
Derek
great.
is furious.
I played through all of Resident Evil 8 not knowing you had to turn on ray tracing.
Yeah.
So right now I still don't care. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like Resident
Yeah,
Evil 8,
either.
guess what? Resident Evil 8 still looked great. It still looked really good. So
It did.
without the ray
It looked
tracing.
very good.
Ray tracing is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around a lot. I do think it looks
Yeah.
cool. Like when you have it activated and can see it and you're looking for it, you're like, wow, this is neat. But it's not
Yeah.
as if lighting or reflections don't look great without it. It's just
Yeah.
it is
Agreed.
improved that much more and it does look good. But I'm with you. Like there are
it's-
times when I forget to go turn it on. I'm like, oh yeah.
It's the buzzword like voxels were whenever we moved from polygons to voxels.
teraflops. Remember when these consoles were
Yeah,
coming out? Like,
we have
dude,
these
we got like
buzzwords.
we got
like, we
11
like to hear.
teraflops.
Yep.
Whoa,
absolutely.
we checked that box, bros. I could be happy about this release. You know,
Yep.
like it's I don't know, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Another dick measuring contest, basically.
Yeah, right.
The
but
big
with rays.
the
and
bigger deal with
tracings.
Far Cry
Trace.
6 for me is, now that it's getting more previews as release is I think 2 weeks away. Is that right? We are getting more previews, and it's exactly what any of us would have guessed. Hey guys, there's a lot of things that are going to feel familiar, and then a few things they do a little differently. Like
Yeah.
that's the vibe.
Wow. Yeah.
Like
but
cool.
some
Thanks for that insightful.
Great reporting. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
That's
I mean,
to me, I watched that last preview and it seemed like a lot of the combat and the progression stuff was vastly different. So I mean,
it seems like
that's
they have
something.
makeshift weapons, which is pretty new to the series. So
it
I mean,
is.
that
There
that's
are
complete-
makeshift weapons and stuff like that. I don't know how deep that mechanic is, but like I thought that the idea of I don't know if you're even getting levels in this game, but like it seems like the gear that you choose is how powerful you are. So whatever you're
Okay.
putting on or taking into battle is like what your power level is.
Okay. Nice.
So I don't know. It
and then
seemed
you upgrade gear, I assume, or just
yeah. So it just seemed different. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
There's
I mean-
also the wiener dog with the wheelchair. I mean, that automatically makes this a GOTY contender,
No,
right?
I think people want you to think that, but I probably wouldn't give in to that.
What's your problem
Don't
with
do
wiener
it.
dogs and wheelchairs there, Co?
Oh, now I have a disabled dog problem. Okay. I don't know. Should I stand my ground on this or?
You shouldn't. You
Well,
shouldn't.
you know what, Kyle? You don't get to stand because he's in a wheelchair. All right?
Oh man.
Oh no.
Man, Dan is in.
That was Dan.
full
Dan took
warrior
all the heat
mode.
off me, and I'm really appreciative of it right now.
He's in
Sorry,
full warrior mode. And I
I'm
love it.
embodying Derek. All right, I'm embodying the Derek energy.
I'm
Whatever you
loving
gotta tell yourself, man.
it. Yeah, I think until the Far Cry formula no longer includes first-person open world with some sort of forts to take down to unlock areas of a map, people are always going to say it's too familiar or the right amount of familiar, whatever. But they're always going to say, yeah, it's more Far Cry until they do something different from that.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, those are the things that make Far Cry.
I feel like a lot of those
Big open
mechanics
world,
like work for
first
Far Cry
person-
though.
They do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we'll talk about this, I'm sure.
Climbing
when
a
the game comes.
tower, unlocking. I don't know. That all seems like I don't know. At this point, I feel like that's so far part of like Far Cry's DNA that whatever you know.
They
you
have
gotta
to
keep those
decide. They'll have
mechanics.
to decide like, hey, we want this to be a totally different type of game, and then they'll do that if they want to.
Like-
But
like
until
Yakuza
that
like a
happens,
dragon, we're gonna be a turn-based game now or something.
Exactly. they they fundamentally changed how you do combat. And
Match 3 puzzle game.
yeah, match 3. That's right.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I am looking forward to Far Cry 6. It's pretty soon. We're almost at the end of September. So
I think it's the 7th, right? It comes out the 7th.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
that first week of October sometime.
Yeah.
Get the date. Respawn's working on too many other games to develop Titanfall 3.
But didn't they
This-
have a different wasn't there a contradicting statement though that came out?
I don't know.
I think
Was
think
there?
so.
This was the only one I saw.
I saw the headline. I didn't read the story, but I saw
Dan,
something.
that's where I'm at too,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah.
which is why I didn't want to like expound further. But yeah, I think there was a contradicting statement that they were like, we're not saying we're not working on Titanfall,
Right.
but I don't know. So
Yeah.
It
Oh,
just
you're
seems
right.
like-
Somebody else said, "You who knows
Thanks,
what the
Jeff.
future holds."
yeah, exactly. They're like, you never know, So it's just, I don't know.
Whatever.
We're not getting it anytime soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
The second
probably
one is
not.
still popular. People still
But
play
never
it.
say never, I guess is the message. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want them to make because Respawn did Fallen Order, right? So
Yes.
I want them to make. a
Yeah,
sequel to
and that definitely got.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know
people are
I
asking
don't know
for
what the
wrong game
gaming
right now.
industry term is, but I know the movie term is greenlit. I mean, I know that sequel to Fallen Order is for sure in the works. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
they
I
said
feel
that.
like people have been working on it for a year and a half now.
Probably,
If
yeah.
You had to ask me.
Yeah. We need a follow up to the best game from 2019. All right.
Best
For
friend.
Outer Worlds, yeah, I
I'll
agree.
champ-
Yeah,
I'll
we're getting
champion
one,
that. I don't
thankfully.
care.
Yeah.
Tim and I will die on this hill, whatever.
We definitely
Let's
will.
do it.
That game's amazing. Okay. Naughty Dog is teasing all new content for Last of Us Day, which I didn't realize Last of Us Day is coming up this weekend. So by the time you listen to this, Last of Us Day will have already happened, so
Yeah.
you missed it.
We'll know
We'll
what that
all be
content
dead.
is.
But well, everyone will be dead.
We'll all be
but
dead. Clickers, you know.
whoever is alive, the clickers who are listening to this, I hope you enjoyed Last of Us.
I don't know. Yeah. I like how inclusive y'all are.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Clicker rights.
Just real quick, what do you guys think this is, especially you, Dan, as our Sony boy? What do you think this is going to be?
I don't know, because I mean, so Last of Us 2 didn't release with multiplayer, whereas the first one did, and it actually was legitimately popular, like really popular. So I mean, this is something standalone. If it's I don't know. Well, if it's Last of Us Day, then it must be Last of Us oriented, right? So it would have to be. I would assume so. So I don't know. It's got to be something maybe kind of like open, like persistent, maybe.
Okay.
Not as straightforward as the other one was, where it was kind of like that kind of like smaller areas and just traditional deathmatch sort of thing, but like with its own twist. Having kind of the equipment and making stuff on the fly, which is similar to the single player game. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it must be
Dan's
big.
right. If you're following the rumors, like it seemed like whatever the Last of Us 2 multiplayer was going to be has now spun off into its almost own thing. And I think there's a lot of merit to that. So I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
But the scope definitely much bigger.
I don't think we're going to hear a lot though. I think they're going to just kind of remind us like, hey guys, a multiplayer component's coming. Happy Last of Us Day, and they're going to sign off like that. I that's kind of where my expectations are, to be honest.
And you're not. Would you guys expect it this year? Like Jeff, do you think this would happen this year, or do you think we're just going to hear about it?
Probably just hear about it, and then spring 2022, like everything else.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's so safe. That's the safest thing you could choose.
So true.
Pick a day in February, guys.
Let's do late February, early March. I think that's pretty open.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything ending that.
No, it's totally clear.
Yeah, I'll have nothing going on then. That's perfect.
Would you guys want them to make a Red Dead Online style Last of Us Online experience?
That would be bonkers. That would be bonkers.
I don't know how they do that.
What I know, I don't want that, but yeah. I kind of like a more focused thing, but I do like a persistent idea that kind of like Dan was pitching.
I'd love just a straightforward single player DLC like Left Behind, honestly.
Oh, I mean, if that's on the table, sign me up. Yeah, like if we're talking something outside of like multiplayer and some kind of like solid 2 to 3 hour like DLC story or something, I'd totally be about that.
Well, so that's the thing, because if they still have two kind of groups within the company, like two separate like entities that are making things, like they confirmed that they are doing something multiplayer. Like that was confirmed a while back. That was
confirmed, yeah.
So if they are perhaps doing like a Left Behind, then I guess that could be the other team potentially.
Maybe.
But again, the for me in my head, I'm like, this multiplayer has got to be something that's just much bigger than just a straightforward deathmatch thing. I mean, you could have both, right? That would actually be great to just give you more options. But
and I would love like a Last of Us stories thing where it's like we're gonna tell 4 new stories that are all 2 to 3 hours each. Where it's like different characters. They're not connected to Ellie's story at all. They're just in this universe, and like we're gonna tell a quick story and in some environments that we've already shown you. So they don't have to rebuild assets and all that stuff, and they can churn that kind of stuff out really quick. I think it's silly that they're not doing that, to be honest. Especially like if they want to like recourse correct and grab all those fans who just like weren't a fan of Last of Us 2
Too
because
late,
like
Kyle.
it was. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I know. Those people are so mad and already moved on, but like
for no reason.
But like for no reason at all. But like those, if you want to get some people in who just like want more stories in that universe without like needing to build a game up from the ground up and tell a quick 2 hour, 3 hour story, Star Wars Vision style, like a quick nugget of a story, Yeah, I think they could do something like that, and I think it's silly that they don't, to be honest. So.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Probably going to be multiplayer related. I'm with you, so I probably won't care about it too much. It's one of those things that I might give it a glance, especially if the response to it is very, very positive.
I'll play
I might give it a look,
two.
but it's not something that I care that much about.
Last of Us Online, the first one was really good.
Right. That's what. Yeah.
I
that's
did
what Dan
not
was saying,
religiously play it, but I immediately understood like, hey, this is like different and interesting and cool. Good for them.
Well, they did rate Alan Wake Remastered, which we saw announced already. That's coming not only to PlayStation, but also to Switch. At least we think so, because it's been rated in Brazil. Those types of rumors typically have some element of truth to them. When you get a rating that comes out in some market, it usually means it's going to be available. My only fear is that this would be the cloud version, because that's happened several times.
This game is so old, it could run on a Switch.
I hope so.
It's so old.
They're putting out the first Dying Light. We'll talk about the second one later. But they're putting out the first Dying Light, not cloud version, like the whole Platinum edition.
And that's a pretty large game.
And that's
I mean, The Witcher 3 is on there.
Witcher 3 is on. Some sorcery plays The Witcher 3. You know, so.
They made it work. All right. Well, speaking of Nintendo, they aired a Nintendo Direct this past week, which I think got, it's fair to say, mostly positive, sometimes mixed reviews, but definitely wasn't on the negative side, as you know we've seen with some of these presentations. I know Sony early this year had one that got a lot of negative reviews. Nintendo had a Direct that, myself included, were like, "What is this? What are you guys doing?" So I think this one got a lot more positive, and they had some really cool, as Kyle, you were saying in our chat, some cool shadow drops. It's always cool when they do that, where it's like, boom, here's something for you to go download today, which I think is always fun.
Boom, you looking for this?
Shadow drops. They're called shadow drops, gentlemen. Shadow drops.
That's a War Machine joke.
Yeah, that's my favorite joke from Iron Man 2.
Congrats.
Or Avengers 2.
Or Avengers 2, yeah.
Boom, looking for this. He tells that story like 3 times in that movie.
Oh, that's a War Machine story. That's a very good one, yes.
That was really good, Jeff. That was really good.
That was super good. Yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise is getting some major. They're calling it a massive expansion next summer called Sunbreak. I thought that trailer looked really cool. It's just cinematic at this point, but very much like a vampire Dracula-esque.
It had like a Castlevania vibe, right?
Castlevania. The way that dragon was very spiky and pointy. It just kind of all had a very Castlevania vibe. I agree 100%. So we'll see if that setting is going to be a little, because I had like a rundown castle. You know, if is it a bit of a Transylvania type of setting? I don't know, but it's called Sunbreak. Oh, and the inclusion of sun. The idea of is it vampire related in any way? I don't know, but that comes out next summer, and they are calling it a massive expansion. So if it's going to be anything like Iceborne was, then that's going to be a lot.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens there.
They did specify, there was text that specified you do need the actual copy of the game in order to access this.
Yeah. Just like with Iceborne, you needed to have Monster Hunter World to play that. So, yep, good call out. You do need to own Rise, which you should. It's a great game. Mario Party Superstars, they announced a few new boards, new mini game details, stuff like that, coming out at the end of October. That is one that my kids have very adamantly requested that we get. And I can already envision it's going to be a lot of fun for 30 minutes, a lot of laughter, a lot of joy, a lot of, wow, this is so fun. And it's going to devolve into me breaking up. I'm talking death fights.
Dude, Tim, Mario Party ruins adult friendships. So, of course, overly emotional children are going to murder each other.
And I mean, to be fair,
just to watch 3 or 4 stars drain from your account and go into like your most hated brother or rival, for no reason other than hey, I just rolled something that I had no control over.
Bowser shows up. It's like, oh, you like those stars?
Will die. There will be many blood of spilled because of this game.
Nintendo loves rubber banding, so that way that whoever's in last place in Mario Kart or Mario Party, they get a shot to win.
I'm going to give you all of the best items to get to the front.
That's how they do it. Voice of Cards, The Isle of Dragon Roars. Now, this title is a little silly, a little bit of a mouthful, but it looks really intriguing. It's this tabletop card game where everything in this apparently massive and in-depth RPG game is represented by cards. Everything from towns to characters, enemies, and they all kind of, it looks like they flip over as you progress. And I'm not sure exactly how you control the board. I haven't looked into it that in depth. But there is a demo out now. Did anybody try it?
It's Yoko Taro too, right? It's the Nier guy, right?
Which coincidence? The second, literally, I don't know about you guys. The second I heard the like kind of chorus kick in, like the woman singing, I was like, this is Nier music.
The art, the art and the music kicked in, and I go, this is at least a Yoko Taro inspired game? And then it was like directed by Yoko Taro. I'm like, there we go.
And is it Kechi Okabe? I think is the name. He's the one that did the soundtracks for Drakengard and both Nier games. So
they've been working together for a long time.
Yeah. So beautiful music.
Yeah.
Yep. This is, of course, as you guys just alluded to, a Square Enix game, and it's coming out at the end of October. So it's maybe others have been aware of this game if you're like in the know and really track it closely.
Nah.
This was a new reveal for me, and
For me
seeing that
too.
it's coming out at the end of October is cool. Very intriguing looking game. On my birthday, October 12th, we'll get to play Disco Elysium on the Switch, digitally at least, and they are planning a physical version of that early next year as well. So people can finally play the much heralded Disco Elysium on the go.
Nothing, Jeff? You love that game, Jeff. You got nothing?
So, I mean, it's already available everywhere else. I don't know what you want me to say. If you're not playing it by now, then you're not going to play it.
Just play
it. Derek, Jeff, please.
For
be
that
excited,
one guy
right?
who just owns a Switch, you know,
Yeah,
he's like,
that one
finally,
guy.
yes.
Oh, why doesn't he want me to play it?
It's true. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity expansion pass. So I saw this and I was like, isn't there already expansion pass? But they did announce some details for Wave 2. It was just a confusing way that they did the trailer where it said expansion pass. And I was like, a lot of people already have that. Like, what is this? But it was just showing off Wave 2, which comes out also at the end of October. It's going to have new story, new characters, missions, all that kind of stuff. They showed a good amount of gameplay for that as well. So there you go. If you've got Hyrule Warriors and still want to dig into that some more, they're not done supporting it, which is cool. At least it's good to know that if you bought the expansion pass, you didn't waste your money. You're getting a good amount of. This is the second pretty big wave of content. There you go.
Indeed.
Chocobo GP, this Mario Kart style racer featuring, of course, Final Fantasy characters, courses, and magic attacks. Right, so you get to charge up magic attacks, which is
upgraded magic attacks, Tim.
Yeah.
Just like in the series.
Which is cool. Now, I never played. I remember there was a Chocobo racing game back in the day. I never played it.
PS1, yeah.
Is this by the same team? Is this a follow-up to that?
Who knows?
Really wish we had that information.
Who knows?
I think the one on PS1 is like super entertaining, but I also realized like back in the day, like good games were scarce, you know, like so we just kind of liked whatever was thrown at us.
So true.
Especially if it was branded. You're like, wait, I like chocobos, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But just that talk about nostalgia taking the wheel. I'm super excited for this game in every way because like in my like mind, I've already decided these are the same people making this game, but I don't know.
It actually looked pretty comparable to Mario Kart. Like
it did.
It looked
like
it was pretty
was
solid.
Mario Kart at first, like I would, you know, if you looked
super
away
fast.
and looked back at it, yeah.
I referencing Kyle Bossman's video that he just did though. I love the little bit where he's talking about. So they showed Chocobo and they're like, it has Chocobo and Gilgamesh. And it's like Gilgamesh, like there's VV in the back, you have Steiner, you have this, you have that, and you mentioned Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh.
And it's like, I get it. Like, I mean, I know who Gilgamesh is, but that does make sense. I don't know why they would say Gilgamesh. But...
I just like that the gods are participating in these races. I want to know what the canon is for this, this series.
Yes.
Yeah, that comes out 2022 as well. And it is a Switch exclusive, not like a launch exclusive. They're saying it's a Switch exclusive for that one.
Oh, I guess I missed that. That's cool. Good for them.
Final Smash Fighter is going to be revealed next week, you guys. So,
dude, we're going to dedicate a whole hour and a half.
I'm actually sweating thinking about it. I will keep going.
This is an end of an era, right? I mean, jeez. Sakurai deserves his rest.
3 years of continuing to support that game. Kudos to them for that. And so, final character will be revealed, and they'll do a deep dive on that on October 5th.
I'm just gonna throw out there if I don't get Gino from Super Mario RPG,
you're not getting Gino.
I will literally burn this fucking world to the ground. All right,
Dan, I gotta break it to you, man. Nobody recognizes that
it will be Chris
anymore.
Pratt before it's Gino.
Just Chris Pratt, not Chris Pratt as Mario.
Not even. No. Chris Pratt is now.
Chris Pratt.
He's just in Super Smash Brothers.
I guarantee you're not getting Gino, and I'm with you. I think that'd be great. That might actually make me go, all right, let me try this because they added Gino, but they're not adding Gino. Sorry.
I just
just re-release Super Mario RPG. It would literally make me the happiest boy in the entire world.
I need it to happen because then like I want immediately right after that to end to them to be like, and we're remaking Super Mario RPG or like a sequel,
and we're making a sequel. Yeah, it's like wow. All right.
My face would melt.
I like this
somehow
dream
figured out whatever was wrong all these years that kept us from doing this, and now we're gonna make a bunch of them. Yeah.
Right.
Do you think there's someone making those decisions that's like, they don't really want this. They don't really want that.
Oh,
I think it is it like the Squaresoft thing?
No, it's Nintendo, because there was that whole article I remember at some time where I think Sakurai had like commented on it as well, where like they had already preemptively decided like essentially like if not definitive characters, like the kind of path that they wanted to go down. And it's like, I mean, come on, like let Sakurai be kind of weird and choose stuff, but it's like no, the suit's got to get in there and suit it up. So
I always thought it was like a weird Squaresoft thing. Like when Squaresoft went, like
no, because I mean they have Cloud and everything.
Oh, that's true.
They got Cloud, they got Sephiroth. I mean,
I've always thought that Nintendo assumes they've continued the Mario RPG series with Mario and Luigi games.
Yeah, well, I don't care.
And Paper
Mario was, I would say, is the closest thing to Super Mario RPG.
I'm telling you, like, if you were to ask me, like, yeah, we've
had
many games in that series. Like, I think they think of those as the same.
I bet you they do. I'm actually there with you on that one, Zen. Yeah. I think that they do think that. It's like, we did. These are the spiritual successors. I'm like, yeah, but no.
I don't want it to be spiritual. I want it to be directly successor.
I want stuff to be like drawn by Akira Toriyama and look like Dragon Quest and stuff like that. Like, can you do that?
Gino and I want Mallow.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Kirby and the Forgotten Land was leaked a little bit, just a little bit, before the Direct. The new trailer showed off what I thought was, yes, very simple visuals. Keep in mind it's the Switch, but I thought they were pretty charming, especially as you started to see enemies and some bosses. I was like, this actually, it fits the Kirby vibe. It doesn't need to be. I mean, it's funny because it's this post-apocalyptic city that's been overrun or whatever. I saw people saying Last of Us Kirby.
Yeah, Last of Us Kirby.
But I thought overall it looked pretty interesting. I think it could be fun. Some of the powers that you get, it just looks like a nice, family-friendly 3D adventure game. Yeah. Kind of a thing.
I imagine being the tryhard that takes a screenshot of this next to Kana and says, "I prefer the Kirby art style."
Yeah.
Who was it? Who was this?
I don't know who would have done that in our group.
Someone did
no idea.
Wow.
But yeah, I said in our little chat, I'm like, I was completely shocked at like the style of the game. This is the first. Actually, I saw on Twitter somebody had mentioned there was supposed to be a GameCube one that was like open areas, kind of like a more Kirby game, and it got canceled. So I wasn't even aware of that. But this one is the first like kind of 3D world, like kind of Mario, Odyssey style.
I love this new Nintendo respect on Kirby, where they're like, not only does he save the universe of Super Smash Brothers and all the cutscenes, but also we're gonna give him a new giant like open world RPG. It's like, all right, guys, if y'all like believe in Kirby, all of a sudden I'm all about it. Because again, I was talking to y'all in chat. Like one of my favorite N64 games was Crystal Shards. Like it's Kirby game, and I grew up playing Kirby on Game Boy, and like I like Kirby. You're
getting Crystal Shards, Kyle.
You are.
I'm gonna play it all over again, guys.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, tell the people when they can expect Kirby to land. When is that happening?
Spring 2020.
Thank God.
3.
No,
sorry, typo 22.
Oh, is it 2? Oh man.
Thank God.
My wallet's actually staring at me right now. Like, dude, don't.
It just grew a pair of eyes. Like,
yeah, you can't. Yeah, you're gonna have to mortgage this house you don't own.
We are all at this point going like, can someone delay some games, please? Like, we're all looking at it going like, this is
I'm hoping so much that like an onslaught of COVID happens and like just like delays all these games.
Oh my God.
But people that deserve it, though. People that deserve it, though, Kyle.
Yeah, fun COVID, not like
fun COVID.
Yeah, it's like OG COVID where we can
and I
treat
can't
it
be
now.
around people, so I'm gonna stay at home for 2 weeks to play games.
Not the variants. Not the
variants. None of that. Please no.
God.
Next up on the Direct was some Animal Crossing, and my note exactly is Animal Crossing something. I fell asleep.
It is
the Direct in October.
It's the cafe. It's the coffee shop or something along the lines of that. People had mentioned that this update was potentially coming like a while ago. I think it was
a full Direct next month.
There's gonna be a whole Direct, guys, and I'm so excited to watch it all with you guys.
We're gonna have Dan and Kyle do a reaction to that.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be involved. It's gonna be all of us. We're all gonna spend time doing it. It's gonna be so fun.
We're gonna just big smiles, super happy.
All of us smiling and enjoying it.
I would rather slam my big wiener.
Nope.
Nope.
Into the pavement.
No, because
it's very big though. Nope. I just want to make sure that's the important part.
You are fake news.
I'd rather do the 1 chip challenge with my big wiener.
That would hurt. That would hurt.
I wouldn't advise that.
Your dick would be throwing up, Tim.
Kyle's like, nope.
As the resident professional on that one, no.
Oh,
Tim,
man.
your big wiener would be throwing up just like Kyle was.
Oh man.
Yeah, Animal Crossing next month. There you go. Mario Golf Super Rush, another one that's a game that I never got into, and I appreciate those who like it. But it is getting a free update, which is very cool. It's out now.
It's fine.
Horses,
You know.
yeah.
New characters.
If I had friends that came over, I would be all about this game. But I don't.
Isn't it? I think it's cool though that they're adding. Here's some more characters. Here's a couple new courses.
I think
they're keeping
abilities
it fresh
too. I think they there's like a different. Oh well, I guess it's just one of the characters is super fast.
Yeah.
Hey Jeff, can you give me a detailed description of this game again, please?
Yeah, you golf and then you run around and then you golf some more and that's it.
Okay.
Thanks,
bud.
Oh, sometimes you throw things at each other.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
I'll tell you what. I would play Animal Crossing and Mario Golf before I would play Disney Magical World 2 Enchanted Edition. that also got it.
My wife was excited.
I think this was for 5-year-olds and that's it.
And my wife.
And for Dan's wife. Dan married
Disney.
Yeah, Dad married a 5-year-old. You heard it here first. Racist Dan married a 5-year-old.
Nope.
No, that can't be on the record.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. Nope, just the old version. Coming out November 11th on the Switch.
This looked so freaking bad and laughable. It was.
I didn't know what to think about this one. My first thought was like, hey, I can finally play this game on the go and like beat it for the first time in 15 years.
But will you?
No, of course not. But it was also like it's also being brought by Aspire, so I was like, did they update it or is this just like a port of the game that we had? Not that wise, but like feature wise or whatever. But like no, it just I think they're just literally like we're porting the same port that's been ported all these port times and putting our name on it.
Yeah, I would say you're better off probably
with an older game. Yeah,
you're better off probably just getting it on your phone or iPad. Honestly,
it exists. It's literally on your Xbox right now if you want.
Your Xbox. Yeah. We got a quick glimpse at Dying Light 2 Stay Human Again, but of course, at first I saw it, I was like, what? And then it said cloud version, and I said, oh. So that's coming to Switch on February 4th, which I think is launch day. So it's cool that it's coming day and date on Switch. Again, it's one of those, like we say all the time, unless you have no other way to play it, it's cool that you have access to play this. But same thing with Control and Hitman 3. It's neat that Nintendo's experimenting with some cloud stuff, but if you are statically sitting somewhere with a really solid internet connection to do this, you probably also have another console sitting nearby that's going to run it way better. So,
sorry. I assume everyone has money, Tim. I mean, jeez.
Even a PS4 or an Xbox.
Over there.
Dying Light Platinum Edition, though, I don't think there's anything cloud related here. Comes out October 19th, just in time for Halloween. Fun zombie game, and it's this is the full game, all the DLC. It looks like it's going to run pretty well. I hope, crossing my fingers, that it runs well on the Switch, because with all of the running and parkouring you needed to do in that game, you can't have some stuttery mess. So here's hoping that it runs smoothly on the Switch. Not triple, just triangle strategy. I think this game looks awesome.
Triangle strategy.
The name is
like one of my favorite things from the whole conference. So
yeah, this looks
every
really,
time we see
really
this game, I'm like, I just can't wait for this.
Still haven't played the demo, but
yeah, they what I like is that they named specific pieces of feedback they got from the demo as here are some things we're including. Everything from difficulty levels and the ability to, I think there was some save elements. There's some other things where even faster loading. They were able to make things load a little faster.
Reading past conversation, like if you just missed a part of a conversation, you can go back and kind of be like, what was that again? So yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, that is neat. It's very, as we talked about when this was first revealed, very Final Fantasy Tactics Tactics style.
I love that they throw project before it though, like they did with Octopath Traveler, and it's like, what are we gonna call it, guys? It's like, we know what you're gonna freaking call it. Just say triangle strategy. Don't throw project at me. Like, I know what you're doing.
What kind of strategy you guys think they use in this game?
Octagons.
A square.
Square.
A 4-tiered.
Yeah, I would love it if there's 4. That'd be amazing. If there's there's 4. You like the word triangle. So. Hey Jeff, when does that game come out?
I think it comes out in March of.
You mean this
2024? No,
2024. Okay, good.
-2, 2022. Sorry guys. It's
yet
March 4th, 2022.
You have a weird concept of time, Jeff.
F your wallet.
Yeah. If you were hoping to play all the games this first quarter, I don't think you're going to be able to do that.
I can't even do it with this fall. I mean, it's
I know.
not going to happen next spring at all.
And it's been a supposedly bad fall, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that?
I'm not excited about anything. I think games are stupid. As I stare down like this like $400 like budgeted game barrel like between now and the end of the year. Insane.
Games suck, am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Games are
this fall is insane, and people just come on.
I pick up a controller and play a game for 5 hours, and I go, "Why did I do that? That was."
Because you hate yourself.
Well, right after Far Cry 6 comes out, we'll get to play some Metroid Dread, a new Metroid game. It's not a remake. It's not some kind of new version of an old one. It is a new Metroid game. Comes out October 8th. I still think that looks awesome. They showed some of the new environments this time, so it's not just gray and brown caves, which was cool to see.
Yeah.
I was hoping that we'd see a little bit of that. Well, that's a loud car.
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd see a little bit of that, and we did. So
game
still looks great.
Awesome. I think it's gonna be great.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. All right, so they added new Switch Online membership plans, and for all of our sakes, they decided to give it a really weird name. Instead of just saying Switch Online and just here you pick between these now 3 options instead of 2 or whatever it is, they actually gave it a name. So it's Switch Online plus expansion pack.
Yeah.
That is so Japanese of them.
No, it's
way more words than need to be there.
It's a reference to the N64 expansion pack.
I thought of that too, actually. That little thing that you plugged in that you could now play Zelda.
The thing that I had to buy that made me mad back then also. Yeah.
The thing you needed to play any games. Yeah,
right.
Yes. That's fun.
Pretty much.
I felt the same rage.
Same rage.
Very cool that they're tapping into that nostalgic rage.
They did not give a date. They just said late October. So I guess you'll see a system update or something come soon, and I'm sure they'll have that ready. But the big announcement to me was the inclusion of the long rumored inclusion of N64 games, but also Sega Genesis games, which to me was a little more surprising.
That was very surprising to me.
The N64 games that will be included are Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64. I wish that they still named things with the number of bits, you know?
Yeah, same.
Yes.
Yoshi's Story, Ocarina of Time, Winback, which by the way, underappreciated game, Winback. I like
Winback is so great. Yes.
I liked Winback. Mario Tennis, Dr. Mario 64, Sin and Punishment. And then they announced a few other games that will be coming to the service. Majora's Mask, Mario Golf, Pokemon Snap, F-Zero X, Kirby and the Crystal Shards, Kyle, Paper Mario, and Banjo-Kazooie.
Banjo-Kazooie's come back home.
Some of the greats, of course.
These are only, I do notice none of these are the licensed properties that were the bigger hits of the 64, and I wonder if that could be in the works if they port these successfully or what. I don't know. Like I'm talking like No Mercy, Blitz.
Okay.
GoldenEye.
That type of stuff. Yeah.
You say those were the bigger hits?
I would argue they were, yes. People still play GoldenEye and No Mercy and have tournaments. Yes.
Oh, well, sure. GoldenEye, yes, but...
Dude, I was actually... The first thought that I had was I was looking... I paused it and looked...
Some of the bigger license hits is what I mean.
I was looking for either WrestleMania 2000 No Mercy or at least WCW versus NWO.
I got to be honest, I kind of immediately assumed it was on there and I didn't check it. And I'm a little... Y'all are really bumming me out right now is what's happening.
Well, I wonder if they could work it out, though, because they seem to have worked... some of it out with some of the SNES and NES.
Someone wants to get paid just to emulate a game on something. Like someone wants that, you know. Like
I mean, Banjo-Kazooie's kind of shocking because technically Rare is with Microsoft now, and they kind of have that relationship. So
it's true.
Yeah, I think I think someone's just writing checks, you know.
Right, but I'm saying like shocking GoldenEye's not on there though. When they have Banjo-Kazooie, I mean, I'm sure future update, but
I can see GoldenEye, but I don't see the wrestling games coming just because I feel like with all the wrestling contracts happening today, I can't imagine them licensing those.
No, I feel like Vince would just shut that
problematic.
down.
Not going to happen. But Sega games are coming as well. Pretty good list. You got Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hardcore, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe.
Yeah, Echo!
Golden Axe.
Gunstar Heroes.
Echo.
I've never heard of Musha. What's Musha? Anybody heard of that one?
It could be Japanese only, never released here.
Could be. Phantasy Star 4, Rise Star, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Sonic 2, Streets of Rage, and Strider. And they didn't list
Strider. Okay.
They didn't list any, future games like they did for the 64. But that's a pretty solid list. You got a good mix of arcade games, side-scrolling platformers. You even have some pretty in-depth RPGs.
I remember hating Echo. I didn't own a Genesis, so I played it at a friend's house and stuff. I remember despising Echo. So I think it's funny that was one of the first games on the list.
Echo.
So you hate
Everyone
dolphins?
People like that game. I hate it.
I
I
know.
think it's hard, but whatever.
If you are a subscriber to the Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership, you will have access to purchase a N64 or Sega Genesis wireless controller. They seemed to say that pretty clearly on the screen there. It didn't sound like it's going to be something that's publicly available. Plus, why would it be if you're not subscribing to those services? But anyway, they're going to be $50 each.
I think it's it's steep. I think it's hilarious that so generous of us to allow you to purchase these $50 old controllers.
They're wireless now.
If you're part of they're yes. Well, thank you, Nintendo.
Because the wire
Thank
was
you.
such an inconvenience on the 64. They were so short.
It's just funny when they do that. Like, oh, you're part of this little club. You get to spend money on this thing.
You get to hold the worst controller ever created in your hands and recreate
But it looks
your
cool.
N64 days.
But it looks cool.
I gotta be honest. I it's something in my brain that tickles. I'm like, oh, you can really feel like playing that or whatever. But like $50, like, are you kidding me? Like, wireless technology is not expensive anymore, and that's 20 to 25-year-old tech. Like,
Plus, I don't expect this expansion pack membership to be that expensive, but they didn't give us a price for that yet, so we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know how much it's going to be. So we're paying an extra additional monthly amount for access to these games. Is it now $10 instead of, because it's not very expensive right now?
It's not.
No.
So are they going to double it, add $1? Like, what's it going to be?
I see people complaining about that. You can double it, make it $40 for the year. That's still cheaper than Microsoft and PlayStation. Yeah. So like, and that's, you spread that out amongst a year. That's barely anything. Like it's not that much at all. So.
I agree. So there you go. That was a pretty big announcement. It's been long rumored and long requested to have N64 games added. So not only do you get those, you get some Sega games as well. Shadowrun Trilogy. I regrettably have never tried any Shadowrun game, but the clip they showed of this kind of isometric strategy RPG game was like, oh yeah, this does look cool. I never played these games. Have you guys ever played Shadowrun?
No, I played the third-person shooter on like Xbox 360 or whatever. That was like a hero shooter or whatever, but never these like old school isometric ones. So yeah, they look cool to me too.
Yeah, they had kind of a. I know we always compare any strategy, turn-based strategy, to XCOM, but it did a little. You're getting behind cover, and it looks like it was turn-based XCOM style. I don't know if it is XCOM or not. It might be more, tactics.
I bet it's like Wasteland. Like one
could be like Wasteland.
Yeah.
The Castlevania Advance Collection. I'll talk about this one a little later in the show too, because I bought it and I'm playing it. Confirmed. We already kind of knew this was coming, but it's been confirmed. The 4 games are Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, Aria of Sorrow, and Dracula X.
Just
some of the. Go ahead.
3 of the best Castlevania games of all time.
That's all. That's all.
Dracula X too, if you want to count that. 4. Yeah, I mean, people like that one. Yeah.
Including a bunch of cool features, which I can confirm are pretty neat to have in there. Button mapping, rewind, quick save, and then they also have regional versions. And I went and looked at that. You can switch over to Japanese or European versions, and so you do that at the main menu. And then as you cycle through the 4 games, in at least one case, the image, but also the title changes to whatever that regional title was, which was cool.
Sweet.
So yeah, that's pretty neat. That's finally here. Konami's still doing something with video games, right?
I mean, this is like the first just genuine appreciation of Castlevania for like how long? I mean, since Lords of Shadow 2, which was like abysmal.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but it's not the only thing they're working on that I'm excited about. They're also working on that side-scrolling remake of that arcade game I had never heard of before that looks amazing. Someone needs to remind me what that one was called, but it was a.
I don't remember. Konami?
I think it's Konami. I could be wrong on that one. Maybe it's not Konami, but anyway, I feel like that was announced around E3 time, and it was just this really cool-looking side-scrolling action RPG. Anyway, moving along, Actraiser Renaissance. This was the big surprise for me. I was so excited to see this. It is a full HD remaster. Oh, and by the way, Castlevania Advance Collection and Actraiser Renaissance both were shadow dropped right then.
Yeah.
Well, not right then, a couple hours later, but they were on the eShop as well as I think on PS4. Were they on Microsoft Store?
I don't think so. I don't think.
But they were on PC, so I saw them pop up on Steam and Epic Games, or at least on Steam right away. So yeah, those came out. They added a bunch of stuff to Actraiser Renaissance. I'll talk about that later, but they didn't just give it a new coat of paint. They they really did a lot of work on this game, and I
That was genuinely
I had
shocking.
no idea this was being made at all.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
What a crazy project to keep.
The second I saw it, it's like spinning. It's like dun 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 dun. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, very very cool. Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2, actually 1's already out, but 2 is out now, and you can get it for free if you already bought 1. That's also out today. They went through a quick sizzle reel that showed Hot Wheels Unleashed, which I still think looks like fun. And you can create tracks and all that stuff too, I saw. Surviving the Aftermath comes out this holiday. Shin Megami Tensei, pre-orders are now open for that game, comes in November. Wreckfest is out this fall. Arcade Archives, Pac-Man, and Xevious out today. And then Rune Factory 5, not only is it coming out in March.
Damn it, Tim.
But also it's super woke because they have gay marriage.
That's already been announced, Tim. I already knew.
Well, now it's in a trailer. It was right there.
Okay.
Is gay marriage woke in 2021?
No,
I didn't know that was woke.
It's not woke anymore. Actually, they're behind the times, aren't they? That's a little antiquated.
How retro.
How retro of them to include gay marriage. It was one of those things where it wasn't just, hey, this is an option. They put it right in your face. Like, look, there's 2 brides.
It's pretty new for these type of games, to be honest. So yeah. Cool that it's in there.
Yeah.
Just to go back a little bit, I am excited to play Hot Wheels Unleashed. Put those tracks together and go in loops and stuff, just like the old days.
I am too, man. I think that game looks like it could be a lot of fun.
I'll probably be playing on PS5 though. It looked a little weaker on the Switch than
not a Switch game for me.
You want that like frame rate for a racing game.
Yeah.
Totally. I'm not planning on getting out on Switch either, but it's cool that it's coming there. One of the weirdest announced, and I'm definitely curious about Jeff and Kyle, especially your take on this. Not that I don't want to hear Dan, or not that I don't have opinions either, but you guys used to talk a lot more about movies and shows when you did a podcast, and so I'm just curious what your thoughts are. They announced the casting, the main casting of the new Mario animated movie, and
who announced it? Who announced it, Tim?
Well, Shigeru Miyamoto came out, of course, which was awesome.
It was something a little haunting, him shilling himself out to Hollywood. Like, we're so excited to work
the father
for
of
evil...
Mario.
Yeah. So he's and that was of course that was revealed a long time ago that he's apparently working alongside with Illumination to make this movie. The release date in the US is going to be December 21st of 2022. I'm just glad it's not March, of 2022.
Got enough going on then, right?
Yeah, this was definitely going to get in the way of all those great games. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, but you guys can, if you're looking at the notes, you can see this, or if you just kind of remember some of the casting. What were your thoughts on the casting for this animated movie? What jumps out at you?
I mean, just the audacity jumps out at me.
It is. That's absolutely.
There's some good choices.
Listen,
there are some good choices.
I know. I saw some people who are like, "I think this is very exciting," and I know those people have kids too. I'm just like, I'm just here for it, guys. I'm here for your positivity. Can I just be real for a second, though? This is ridiculous. This cast is ridiculous. Some of it makes sense. Yeah. Oh, Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Okay, sure, I guess, But like Chris Pratt as Mario. Like, what are we doing here? Yeah, and Peach is gonna have like a baritone like Brazilian voice because Anna Taylor-Joy is doing it. Like, what is she? She's not Brazilian. What is she? I don't know.
You're close.
Okay, well, whatever.
She's
like
something like, I know what you're talking about.
I mean,
she's like British and
she's like very, like she's kind of a, I don't know. I find like all of this to be very weird. And Jeff, maybe you can tell us a little bit about because like the way you describe Illumination Studio is far better than anything I can.
She's Argentinian. That's what it is.
Argentinian. Thank you.
Oh,
Charlie Day though, right? Charlie Day.
Charlie Day is great.
Listen, I love Charlie Day. I love all of these people.
Yeah, all of these actors, I love them, but it's just like
there is nothing wrong with these people.
Yeah. It's so funny. I love Keegan-Michael Key, and then I'm like, Toad though. That doesn't make any sense.
Sure, I bet it could be funny.
I also really like Sebastian Maniscalco's stand-up. I think he's really funny and animated.
Yeah, he's funny.
He's gonna be funny. Spike. So I'm like, is he gonna be like, aren't you embarrassed? Like, is that what he's gonna do as Spike? I don't understand any of this.
Yeah.
It's very jarring what they're going for. So this studio is Illumination Studio, and if you have parents, you're probably going to be more tolerant of these movies if your kids love them.
Yeah.
But this studio makes Despicable Me, Minions, Secret Life of Pets. To me, these are all like surface level animated movies.
They are.
That they don't make me laugh. Personally, I think they're like barely touch any themes that you can dive deep into, like you would on a Pixar movie or something.
Correct.
So I mean, I don't expect anything to be actually stand out in this movie, like at all.
I would think out of all those, Despicable
like,
Me has
okay
a few
with it,
moments with
The
the
first
adoption
one.
piece.
The first
Despicable
one,
Me,
yeah.
the first one, does have some sweet moments. It does. But I agree with you on the rest of them. We've watched, because my kids like The Secret Life of Pets. It's just silliness.
Yeah.
With maybe a few attempts at
It's
sweetness.
just loud noises and colors to distract the kids.
But
That's
to
it.
their credit, there are some really funny moments, even though it's silly, like the cat knocking stuff off the table, like little things that they do that are clever. And I'm like, all right, that's funny. But you're right, man. This is definitely second tier compared to your Pixar, and honestly, even your DreamWorks, because they've stepped up their game.
I was gonna say, yeah, even Sony Animation too, with Mitchell's versus the Machines and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Like, I mean, these guys are third or fourth tier to me. Like, I'm just not excited.
But Nintendo's not going to allow them to tarnish their property.
No, they won't. Like, I feel like
yeah.
that's why he's there, Miyamoto. He's like, no one's going to kill my baby.
Trying to kind of assure the audience, even though the casting is weird.
I get everything's so weird. And Chris Pratt coming out being like, "This is a dream come true to play Mario." I was like, "Is this what you were wishing for? You were wishing to
literally
play
he did
an Italian fat plumber, like growing up as a kid. I'm going to be an actor."
Kyle, he did. He took the penny. He took the
get out of here, dude. Like, get out of your PR is ridiculous, bro. Like,
I get the feeling this is gonna be like Lego Movie minus the heart that you just talked about.
I agree.
Jeff.
I fully agree.
I think it's gonna be wacky and funny. I think there is gonna be funniness to it because the actors in here are too good for there not to be some humor that I go, oh, that was clever. So I think it's gonna be funny, wacky. They're gonna take a beloved license like Lego, and they're gonna take Mario, and they're gonna make it funny and with a new twist. I don't know. Maybe it will. That it'll have the heart that you're talking about. Right. But I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting just kind of something fun to take the kids to the cheap seats to over Christmas break.
I will say that casting is pretty important because that Lion King remake happened. And there's with Timon and Pumbaa's casting though, Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner made that work. They made that material work.
Billy Eichner is like,
and they were so funny together.
They were the standouts of that whole movie.
For sure.
And
so
that
like
movie had Childish Gambino and Beyonce, and they were not the standouts.
No, they were phoning it in.
Oh, it sounds like they just recorded it at home while they were like.
I'm sure they did.
I think
like, I just recorded it on my iPhone. I'm sending it to you. Buy this.
It's a voice memo.
Yeah.
Oh no, Simba.
What my point is that Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen were standouts in that, but this movie feels like it has a whole cast of those people that could be standouts.
Yeah, like Jack Black as Bowser, like of course, like, I'm not trying to be here to like ruin the like, oh, this casting is stupid, but like all of it, like this makes the Borderlands movie casting seem like normal to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, the casting for this. Like I was looking back at Borderlands and I go, now all that makes sense if this is what we're doing with this movie. You know, so
that's the thing with like these sort of
Kevin
situations,
Hart, all right.
though, right?
Yeah, sure. Like, yeah, he plays big, tough Roland, sure. Yeah.
Especially with an animated movie, it's like I don't know what it is with like. I mean, people on the internet get pissed off about everything, but the second you start like being like, so we're doing an animated movie, and these like actors who act, not like do voice acting specifically, people get so bent out of shape about it. And it's like, but why can't you believe that these actors are capable of also just doing voices? Like, I don't understand where the discrepancy is.
We've heard Chris Pratt do it before too, twice, and he's
I
great
love
at it,
Lego
so.
Movie, and like, so if he's like endearing, if he's endearing like he is in that movie, like, sure, it's not gonna be a problem. It's just like, but when you look at it, you look at the people and the voices they're gonna do, you're like, okay, that's weird.
The thing with Chris Pratt though,
actors don't match the characters in my
yeah.
It's all the SJW shit lately with Chris Pratt. I think is the issue. It's not so much that they don't
because he's a Republican. I think that's
there's that, and then there's the church thing where like he supposedly goes to a church who supposedly is anti-gay and like other stuff, and it's like, why can't we just separate this though? Like, you know,
he does. He separates it. Like,
he does a great job of separating it.
For me, I'm curious how they're going to portray these characters, because I think Charlie Day, and I think he's so funny in the roles he plays, especially in It's Always Sunny. And I think about him as Luigi. I'm like, oh, is he going to be like a snarky, never quite good enough type of Luigi? Like, is that going to be the take on Luigi? Is Mario going to be a bright-eyed, always positive, like Chris Pratt is in like Parks and Rec and in the Lego movies? Like, what are these characters going to be? So I'm very curious. You know, is Jack Black, is Bowser going to sing? Like, I'm curious. What's going to happen with these?
He better now that you put that out there.
I want a Tenacious D like Bowser song. Like,
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
The only person who
Kyle
I feel
Gass
like,
shows up as Goomba, and
I
like
feel like we don't know how most of these. Well, I think Anna Taylor-Joy, I can have a pretty good guess about how Peach is going to be portrayed, and I feel like with Seth Rogen, there's only one way he can act or do anything. So I think he's just going to be Seth
getting
Rogen as
that.
Donkey
He's just
Kong.
gonna be stoned, right? He's just gonna be stoned Donkey Kong.
Sorry, if you love Seth Rogen, I think he has a lot of range. I'm sorry for saying that. I don't. I think he's always Seth Rogen, and that's why he
Right.
Yeah. Ooh,
That's why
what else
he
does it need to
worked
be?
he worked great for Pumbaa. But anyway,
I think he's great. I watched that bit of the Emmys where he came out and he was like, "I wouldn't have come here at all if I knew it was indoors and this close."
Yeah.
And he was so funny. He's such a
Yeah.
natural at
Yeah.
comedy at doing his bit. So when you cast him in a movie, I don't begrudge Hollywood
Yeah.
for choosing him
That's-
because you know
that's
what you're
the-
getting.
That's the flavor you
Yeah,
ordered.
and I enjoy watching him do his thing.
that casting might, out of all these, make the most sense for Donkey Kong.
Probably.
Like if you
Yeah,
show
I
me a
would
list
say
of these
so.
people and you told me to like match them up like an old school test, I probably would have drawn the first line between Seth Rogen and Donkey
Yeah,
Kong.
well,
And
yeah,
then I would
obviously
And
this.
Jack Black.
That's the Jack Black one makes sense. To
I
me,
think
too.
that's pretty like 100%
Bowser.
spot on. Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
spot on. Yeah.
I think those two are like, like like you said, if you're doing the test that you were talking about, like those would be obvious ones to me.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
understand if you go with Charlie Day, why can't you just do John Leguizamo and just double down on the bad movie?
That'd be so amazing. Oh my god. Yeah. I would have respected that,
Yeah, right. I would have been like,
maybe this
balls
movie
on
makes
these
sense
guys.
after all,
Redemption.
Well, then they went from that. That was like, I had to take a minute to. I was like, is this real? This isn't some fan
It's
casting?
like a prank,
Yeah.
It felt like a
It
fan
did
casting
seem-
website, like when people make up their pretend Nintendo Direct announcements. It
Yeah.
felt like that. Like here's the and I'd be like, oh, this is so dumb. Who made this up? So that felt very weird because it was real. And then Splatoon 3, and I sarcastically, of course, when it came out, I was like, wow, this looks so different from the other two games. Listen, I understand the draw of Splatoon, and I think it was Kyle Boseman who said this, right? Listen, it's not for me, but I'd rather people play this than Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
I'm
kid.
all
Yeah,
in.
he said like
All
if I had a
in.
kid and he was playing Splatoon 3, I'd be like, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Over Fortnite. Like
I will
Yeah.
say that the single player stuff they talked about and showed and have already a little bit does look actually kind of cool. Like the single player stuff they're including. It's just the whole vibe of it, the way the game is, like even the core of the game where you're using the different paint tools to paint the environment, multiplayer or not, it just doesn't appeal to me. Like it's just not my, and going as a squid through the paint, I understand the core mechanics. I get it. I just have never had that much fun the few times that I've tried playing either of the first two.
Yeah.
So more power to them. I know this is something that a lot of folks are excited about. These games sell really well.
They
So
really believe in this franchise, and that's
mean,
why it sells well. But
it's the first most unique thing they've done in a while. Like it was a completely original thing, Nintendo thing specifically. I mean,
I
like,
remember when they
years.
announced it, like, hey, we've let some of our developers go off and do their own thing, some of our younger team, and this is what they created, and it turned into a franchise apparently.
Yeah.
So that's fine. No release date yet. They didn't even say spring 2022, which was shocking to
but
me.
in our hearts, we knew that's what it was.
That's
Hope
what.
it never
Yeah.
comes out.
I hope it never comes out.
I hope
And
people
then
feel inspired to play better games after.
They
Oof.
they
It never
closed
comes out.
out, finally showing us some not only cutscenes but also a good amount of gameplay from Bayonetta 3.
Finally.
And when it first showed the cutscene, I gotta be honest, I was like, this doesn't look very good. Like I was like the city and the soldiers, but then as it got to the actual combat in game, I was like, doesn't matter. The cutscene visuals aren't important to me now. The gameplay looks amazing and frenetic, and there's stuff going everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this legitimately. I at first thought that doesn't look great, and then I thought, oh, that doesn't matter if that looks great. The gameplay looks amazing. You get to be Bayonetta again, all the crazy action and the monsters that you can not only summon but also fight against. I think this game is going to be just as fun and probably challenging as the first two, and I can't wait. And so I'm not trying to come down hard on it just because the cutscenes looked like a 360 game.
Well, I mean, it's because of the frame rate. They want the frame rate to be as solid as possible with something like
The
this.
fidelity is not the best.
It also just happened with No More Heroes 3, where they're like, hey, we're gonna let you make your game, but like we don't have a lot of money to give you, so just make do.
But they
I wonder
they even had Bayonetta winking at the camera with this, basically acknowledging to the audience, I know you've been waiting, I hope I don't disappoint type of a thing. And so I thought it was all very, very charming, and it looks like a lot of fun. So
I was very happy to see how far it is along. So
yeah.
There's also like the big monsters that you can summon, which I was reading like was almost kind of like the whole thing with Scalebound that happened on Xbox One, because it's Platinum Games, right?
Did you see the guy at the end?
Well, like his silhouette, like yeah. Oh, so you mean
Scalebound
like kind of
platform.
maybe looked a little bit like Scalebound guy? Yeah, yeah.
It might have nothing to do with that. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
character I should know from the first 2 games.
But
I didn't recognize him, but I was like, hey, he looks like the dragon guy from Scalebound.
I was reading, this is essentially them saying like, oh, so you don't want to allow us to make Scalebound? We're just gonna make Scalebound anyway through Bayonetta.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and that comes out. It's just 2022. So that's cool.
Spring. We know it. We all know it.
It's definitely spring.
God, it better be spring.
I feel like this is a summer game, but it could be holiday. But
I would take. I don't
think
care. Just
so.
put it out. Just whenever it's ready.
the only problem I have with the Bayonetta, I mean, she's just unattractive. She's just not.
Oh
good.
yeah, no, so gross.
Yeah, hard to look
Super
at.
gross. Hard pass.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch the Halo Infinite preview, but I did watch. I skipped through some of it because I don't necessarily need to see every element of the multiplayer and training, but I wanted to see it in action, and they did show a lot of it. It was about 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes of footage. I think it looks really, really nice in motion. I understand that some people are still like, hey, that art style still isn't that great. I thought the reflections looked cool. I thought the frame rate just looked really smooth. I mean, it's going to be a very high quality video game. It really is. And so if you're interested in Halo, of course, go check out their technical preview. I think it's looking good. And then lastly, the initiative announced it's going to partner with Marvel's Avengers and Tomb Raider's Crystal Dynamics to develop a reboot of Perfect Dark.
That's bananas, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
that's wild.
Amazing.
And funny enough, not even really the right developer. Let's be honest. Who the what is it? Eidos Montreal. They're making the better Avengers game, right? Right? Can we just be honest, guys?
Probably.
They're making
Probably,
Guardians.
yeah.
So,
but my thought with this is, my question, I guess, with this, does that mean whatever work was done up to this point on the Perfect Dark game is done? Like, is it getting?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Is it being scrapped? Or are they coming in to help with like?
Wasn't that a year ago, or was it?
God, I hope they're just refining things like a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Was it
Like
2 years
maybe the
ago? I
quality
think
just
we've known
isn't-
about this.
I think I think it was closer to 2 years. It was when the E3 that Keanu Reeves came out, right? Where they were like, we have all these studios. Like, I'm pretty sure it was that E3. That was 2 years ago, I believe.
It feels like it's been a while that we've kind of had Perfect Dark tabbed as, you know, it's on the way, it's in development, here it comes as a big exclusive. And then now they're saying they're developing, or they're partnering with this. It's it seems like a new development partnership, or maybe it's already been happening and they're just now revealing it. I don't know. We'll see.
Fingers crossed that they're just going to Crystal Dynamics for graphics, because, I mean, in terms of at least cinematics and stuff on Avengers and Tomb Raider, that stuff is just mind blowing.
That stuff is good. Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm hoping it's like helping refine that type of stuff.
Yeah. Agreed.
And don't for the love of God, don't turn it into like a grind fest.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's why I was saying the joke of like Eidos Montreal is making the better Avengers game, because Guardians apparently is gonna potentially be pretty solid. So
it's that the previews
like
for that are sounding really good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Easy Allies for that one too, because they'd let you know when it's not great. I think they did say their early first impressions weren't amazing. Anyway, now it's sounding much more positive. Well, listen, that's it for headlines. There was a lot. I know we went through a bunch of stuff there.
So much.
But I do want to talk about first stuff that we're watching, and then we'll close out with stuff we're playing. And we left it off the list last time, so I want to hear about Malignant, because Netflix keeps telling me I should watch it. I think it was Netflix, right?
It's on HBO.
HBO Max keeps telling me I should watch it. It's every time I turn it on, it's just like, boom, don't forget to watch Malignant. It's like, all right, all right.
I would not do this.
Tell me
I don't
about
know
this movie.
Anybody has seen this movie here except for me.
No.
But it's a James Wan horror movie, and the trailers made it seem super by the numbers horror that you've seen before, where I'm being haunted by a ghost. Oh, somebody help me. I'm a helpless woman. Oh.
There's something getting close to my eyeball on the cover. We've never seen that before.
Oh, never seen that before. But there's like, okay, it's not that the reveal or whatever you want to call it in the final third of the movie is unpredictable. You can totally see it coming. It's just how hard James Wan commits to it that makes you go, this is insane. I can't believe the studio just said, yeah, do what you want, man. It's fine. We owe you. We owe you after Aquaman. Just go ahead and do what you want. Because some of the stuff that they do at the end, it's borderline just action horror at that point. And
That's intriguing that you're saying that.
It's just like slick and gruesome at the same time.
You know, the last horror movie that I
And
feel like I could
ridiculous,
describe that
like-
way was Cabin in the Woods. Did something similar. It's like, oh, you're really doing this. Like, okay.
Yeah,
Do you mean like the
Yeah.
Evil Dead remake? Because like they went pretty grotesque in the Evil Dead remake.
They did.
Like kind of
They
like
did,
that, you
but-
mean? Or
But this is even more ridiculous because
Oh,
there's
wow,
some
okay.
things that the main actress has to do that makes me go, man, they should. I hope they paid her handsomely because
she's scarred.
she looks so stupid right now. It is so funny.
Jeez. All right.
Yeah, it's just absurd. The final like third of the act,
That's
half
intriguing.
hour, is pretty nuts.
I
But up
almost
until
wanna
then,
just
it's like
watch that.
basic horror, you know. But yeah, there's a scene where she's in prison, and that's when things take a turn for the action side.
Okay.
Prison
But
Mike.
yeah, it's pretty wild ride.
Prison Mike.
Prison Mike shows
Prison
up
Mike.
with the Dementors.
The Dementors.
Mentors.
Chains on your legs.
Don't drop the soap. Don't drop the soap.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to hear also about The Leftovers, Dan. You've talked about this a little bit, and you've wrapped up the series. So what are your thoughts?
So it's only 3 seasons, so not super long, but the episodes are long. Season 1 and 2, 10 episodes. Season 3, 8 episodes. Yeah, I mean, I sent like the image of Michael Scott on his last episode before he leaves, of him just kind of like happy, sad, like kind of his eyes all watery. Like that's what I sent to because it's like the ending is actually satisfying. Like emotionally, it's satisfying. With like the 2 characters there. And actually, there's some stuff that she says at the end there that actually was kind of like, okay, you gave me a little something. That's pretty cool. So I did like that. But as far as like the whole series overall, and actually, Jeff, I didn't respond to you when you were like, what are you talking about? The stuff that happens throughout the whole show, that's crazy. And it's like, yeah, but like, I don't know. So for me, like the whole show, I feel like you need to be somebody who does have a little bit of patience, because it just seems like moments just kind of stretch out for a while sometimes. And if you're not somebody who wants to sit there and kind of absorb what's being said, whether it's like pertaining to like the twist of the show or not, you're just gonna be like, all right, come on, get to the point. What are you doing? Like, let's go. Like, I just get to something like. So if you're that kind of person, you're not gonna like the show.
It sounds like that was a lot of people's like problem with Lost too. So that's like this creator style is like, hey, I'm playing it like the long game, and you guys can just kind of like piece it together as it goes along. You know,
I'm familiar with the ending of Lost. I feel like this is more interesting. But then throughout the show, they do kind of tease you a little bit back and forth. I don't know if you agree, Jeff, with like, well, is there something crazy that is happening that's otherworldly or supernatural? Is there not? It's like they go back and forth.
They do something with Justin Theroux's character twice.
Yes.
That makes you go, okay, well, clearly there's something going on here fantasy-wise that's not of this world. But those episodes are so nutty. It reminds me of like, what if David Lynch sped things up a little bit?
Right.
Because David Lynch is known for like, let's just have the camera there and it'll sit there 15 minutes and nobody does anything. How about that? But Damon Lindelof is more like, let's write things and be a little more interesting. So I mean, I think that's why I was probably more patient with it, was because I've experienced David Lynch's stuff, like all of it. And Damon Lindelof felt like he was going for that WTF type of vibe.
Right.
Let's speed up a little bit.
Yeah. But again,
so it's wild. It's absolutely nuts.
There are the slower moments because it's like, so the premise of the show is very straightforward. You literally find out what it is in like the first like 2 minutes of the show, like immediately. And then essentially it's like 3 years later, and it's just kind of like the aftermath. And really, basically the whole thing of the show is just like how everybody would react in that kind of situation. That's just unexplainable. Like there's nothing to explain. Like nobody knows or understands why or how. Nobody seems to really figure it out definitively.
It's because what happened, you know, in I guess the Bible and stuff, you would be like, okay, this is just the rapture. But because it didn't happen like the Bible, people are like, okay, then what? I have no idea what's happening. What's going on?
New cults.
So it
like
makes all
bunch of
drives
cults,
so many characters crazy into a cult, you know, stuff like that.
Religious groups, all sorts of nonsense. Like people just start going crazy because they can't fathom, or they need an explanation. It's like what because there's even actually a moment later on where it was actually kind of like, oh, that's actually a good way of putting it. It's like with death, there's a finality to it. you know that person's dead. You got closure because you got to bury them or cremate them or whatever. Like there's something there where there's a defined end. With the event in the show, there isn't. So everyone can't handle that. It's like, well, what's going on? And it's like, so obviously some people just start going crazy, and that's kind of what
some people, if I'm not mistaken, some people even kill themselves to be like, I'm going to join the other side now and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a banana show.
It doesn't always go down that way, at least for Justin Theroux's character. Yeah. God, that show has some seriously insane moments. I love
Leftovers is on what?
HBO Max.
It's on HBO Max. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's not super long, but again, the episodes are fairly long. I mean,
it's hour long plus.
I did like it, but if I'm gonna put it on like the spectrum of like rewatching, say, Breaking Bad recently, or finally finishing Mr. Robot, I do like those more. But I did like this. I definitely did like the show. Like I thought it was, for that type of show, and again, just having some patience. It's entertaining.
So I actually love the Lost finale, and there's a group of people that still do and defend it. So I like Lost more than this.
Okay.
I know that probably makes me a little weird because there's some people that like Leftovers more than this. But yeah, it's definitely Lost for me is up there with the shows you just mentioned.
I didn't mind the way Lost ended. I just thought the last few seasons of Lost were just not great. Like I'm not saying I didn't love I
thought that's when they picked up, and I
loved the overall. I thought the first 3 seasons of the show were phenomenal, and then it started to. It almost felt like, oh, we have a hit. I guess we got to come up with a few more seasons. That's just what it felt like. But anyway, we don't have to get into a Lost discussion now.
No
and it's been a long time since I've seen it, so my memory could be a little bit skewed on it as well. I do want to hear, though, now we've talked 2 HBO Max things. Let's talk a little Disney Plus. Kyle, Star Wars Visions is out.
I was hoping you were going to say Sex Education Season 3.
Kyle and I
Disney
watched
Plus.
that.
I finished it. It's great.
I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Star Wars Visions.
I don't want to talk about London teens having sex to him.
I don't.
No, Star Wars Visions is amazing. If you like anime and you like Star Wars, boy, they have something for you on Disney Plus. It's got Animatrix vibes to me. It's got there's been a lot of things lately. Like there was a Batman one that was like, we're gonna tell 6 stories by 6 different studios, and it's all gonna be non-canon, like cool, like individual stories. That's exactly what this is, and we got to explore a lot of really cool ideas and a lot of really cool moments. Couple bummer episodes, but overall, like some really good content here. I hope we get more of it. But boy, that first episode, strong. Which I think we can talk a little more in depth, because I think we've at least all seen that one, or most of us have. Really special. Like that's exactly how I like envision what this show was going to be. Was like this very samurai Kurosawa, like Star Wars thing or whatever, and it did not disappoint. The art style was super cool.
What is that art style? That seemed new to me. Is there other shows or movies like that?
No.
Was it like a mixture of hand-drawn and 3D? Or?
That was the studio that did JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which I don't watch.
Wow. Okay.
But like that's not their style.
No, it's not.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, for backing that up. So this is something they're doing something different here. So it's just
JoJo is a goofy looking anime.
You know what was cool about it is it almost looked like an unfinished animated movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like before they've colored evering in and like fine tuned the edges, so it felt really raw and it just was really cool.
Very cool. Just like the little bits that you pick up on the story, like just seeing an R2 unit like in a samurai hat, super cool.
Ronin R2.
Ronin R2, like it just the whole idea of it was just very, very cool.
I mean, Star Wars and samurai like aesthetic combining that is just like that's perfect.
It's always going to work every time. So just
peanut butter, man.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of really good episodes that are like very samurai and some that were like done by the Kill la Kill studio that were like super anime.
Studio
twins.
Trigger.
Studio
That's
Trigger.
The one I'm most excited about. So
it's very, very anime. A lot of charging like charging up and like moves that destroy like entire worlds and good stuff,
all the good stuff.
I think that's why I like the Elder episode the second most, is because it's more like the first episode.
Yeah,
it's more like
the Elder is very grounded, a very samurai story of a samurai and like his boy, growing up and trying to fight some thing that's going on. There's just a lot to enjoy here, and
Very
like
cool that it's like short episodes. You mentioned this, Kyle, where it's like
Yeah.
little nuggets.
super easy to knock it out really quickly
long are
in one
they?
sitting. Like 15 minutes, 18 tops, 12 at the bottom. You know, at the shorter end. So yeah, it's really easy to watch them all really quickly. And again, if you hate
And
one,
there's 7 episodes or
watch
something.
another one because it's done by someone completely different. So
Exactly.
you don't have to like, you know, be worried that like, boy, I watched a couple I didn't like. Like, hey, give it one more. Like every single one of them is so different. So.
Yeah.
And by the way, the English voice cast is just amazing.
It's out of
It
this
is
world,
absolutely stacked.
Barney
So
Stinson.
Barney
Barney
Stinson,
he's
Barney
here.
Stinson.
Joe Galev, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. There's a bunch of other people. David Harbour.
Alison Brie.
Yep. Yeah, there's a ton of people. Lucy Liu's in the first episode.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting between this and Marvel's What If. I like that Disney's allowing some creative animation shows.
It's funny, just briefly about What If. This past week's episode was a really funny, just straight up Marvel comedy episode.
I haven't watched it yet.
And the last 3 weeks before that were all like full of sadness and death.
It was
they're
all
very
very
serious.
and then this episode
I was
was
like,
about
thank you.
Thor partying so hard he brings on Ragnarok, pretty much. And it's like it's the greatest episode
right.
ever. Like,
Okay,
it's so
I'm
great. Like,
really down with that. I gotta watch
yeah,
that.
yeah.
funny,
It was
dude. It's
at
so
no
funny.
point is it ever serious. It's like it's just super hilarious. And I'm like,
Okay.
boy, they should have had a couple more. Because the last few episodes has been like watching our favorite characters die horrifically over and over again. And I'm like, okay, I mean, this is super dark. I'm here for it, but boy, this is really dark.
Yeah. It's cool to see them. Listen, I know there are some folks who hate that Disney owns all these properties. I get it. That's fine. That's your
That might be
prerogative to
changing
hate
soon.
that.
I'm mad about it. That's what I have to say to those people.
That might
But,
be changing soon.
Wait, what?
There's like a lawsuit thing going on where
Oh,
like
you don't think Disney has enough money to settle that? Damn.
If you
Yes,
think
I'm just saying.
Epic and Apple have a lot of lawyers to throw at somebody, wait till you see what.
there is some news going on where like the rights are reverting back to the families and estates of like
The
Iron
estates,
Man, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
a few people, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's estates, and all the other ones will totally be fine. People are going to get paid, and it's going to be fine.
They'll
So-
get their money, and Disney will get their money. But that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. All right, so there are other things we're watching. We'll circle back to them if there's time at the end, but we got to talk about some of the stuff we're playing because there's been some major game releases, or at least some ones that we've talked about that have finally come out that I want to get to. First, I'll just quickly mention Castlevania's Advance Collection. We hinted at this earlier. It's $20, so I grabbed it. I know it's on a couple different spots, but I really wanted it on the Switch. It just felt like, hey, these are Game Boy Advance games. Why not play them on a portable screen?
Belongs on Nintendo.
Worked great for me, especially yesterday. Like I said, with my kids, we're at that hotel, and by the time I got them all settled down, we'd gone swimming, watched a movie. Like they're all tired, and I just kicked back on the hotel chair that's in there, and kind of in the dark there, just got to play Castle. And I played for way longer than I probably should have.
Oh, wow.
awesome.
But I really enjoy 3 of these games, and one of them is just kind of a fun throwback to the olden days. This is me personally. I'm not a Castlevania mega fan, but just real quick, I thought that Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance were both really good games.
Yes.
I think Aria of Sorrow is one of the best Castlevania games. It's so good. Aria of Sorrow, I think, is the best out of all these, in my experience so far, and I'm from what I remember playing back in the day. And Dracula X is just kind of a really fun one to go back and be like, do you remember Super Nintendo old school game? Remember these? Like that's what it feels like. And maybe you guys love it, but it doesn't play as well. Like to me, it's not as good of a.
It's not a Metroidvania either, right? Like
right. It's more arcade. Very.
Yeah, it's more just side scroll, like the original kind of couple of Castlevanias. Yeah.
Very difficult. And not necessarily in a good way. Like, ooh, this is challenging. It's like, well, that's a frustrating way to make me die. Okay. But anyway, the main 3, I think, for $20, especially for those 3. These are full-on action adventure RPG games with Metroidvania, of course, the Castlevania games, where it's tons to explore, huge maps. I mean, I love these. I think all these are really great. What a steal for $20. So I'm digging them. Anybody else playing these, or you just know about them?
I'm gonna pick it up because again, Circle of the Moon. All 3 of those are my favorite Castlevanias in the entire series. So I think you're spot on by saying they're some of the best in the series because they are. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna pick this up, especially with all the cheat. Can you expound on what some of the not the cheats, but like the new?
There's a couple of features. I haven't looked into all of them. I did rewind once just to try it out, and it does exactly what it sounds like. You just rewind.
So you don't have to waste it. You don't have to die, pretty much.
Yeah, cool. I'm all about that.
Save
same.
states.
Those games are hard, man, and save points are very spread apart. So yeah.
You get save states separate for each game, so it's not like it's one across the whole collection. So I think you get like 10 of them, just like you would in an emulator, honestly.
Yeah.
So you get a bunch of save states. You get button mapping, which is nice because at least in those 3 games, their buttons are mapped for the Game Boy Advance, which had 2 face buttons. You had A and B.
Yeah.
And so they're mapped that way. So it's nice if you want to make on the Switch, at least it would be the Y, or on the PlayStation it'd be square. Your attack, if you want, like you can just map them in a way that's a little easier, which is nice. The button mapping to me is one of the best features that they added. And the gallery is kind of cool. You get to see some previously unreleased artwork and stuff like that if you're into that, which most of us I think probably are. It's just a really great collection for $20.
Yeah,
it's pretty fantastic. So if you haven't played these, if you're like me, and I think the only one I had played was Harmony of Dissonance, and I never finished it. I remember liking it though, and so being able to go back and play Aria of Sorrow, which I never played, and I'm like, dude, this might be the best one. I think I might like it better than Symphony of the Night. I think this is great. So
those 2, Dawn of Sorrow and what was the one on the DS that everyone really likes? Like that was the one that like Ravel.
I think that is Dawn of something.
Dawn of Sorrow or something.
Might be.
Yeah, that's
because I think a lot of companies tried to do a DS thing, like even with Fire Emblem, Dragon Shadow or whatever that one was. Anyway, I think so. The only thing I didn't like about the DS ones was they would try to do a lot of the draw the symbol out to do a thing.
Yeah,
sure.
And I just kind of prefer a more straightforward platform. But anyway, I wanted to mention that. Loving that. Tell me about Sable. Whoever's playing Sable. Who's playing
that's me. Only played a little bit of it because the 2 other games have been hogging my time right now. Technically 3, but I only played like a little bit of it. The animation style or whatever you want to call it, artwork, is just so freaking unique and
it is.
And pretty. It reminds me of.
I agree that it's unique.
It reminds me of like I don't know, like MTV Liquid Television, like old 90s style alternative animation.
Good call.
And it's so that it makes it certainly, I don't know, nostalgic for me a little bit, but it's just not the pace of game I'm looking for right now. You just drive around, like you're supposed to go on a trek or something as part of a ritual for your tribe or something.
Yep.
I'm still trying to get a handle on the world because they throw a lot of lore at you at the very beginning.
They do.
And you're trying to keep up, like, wait, you threw me in here, like I should know what's going on, and I don't.
You have to get your bike first. So you have to get pieces for the bike and get that assembled.
So I'm still actually at the beginning getting pieces for my bike. So now I have like a slow sand, I think they call it a sand cutter or something like that, which is just super slow. So I mean, it's kind of wide. It's not really open world, but it's kind of wide open for you to drive around in. You can drive anywhere and climb anywhere, much like Zelda, but you have a stamina bar, and if it depletes, you fall. And Lost Judgment has that now too. Hey, look at that. So I mean, it's just not the pace of game that I'm looking for because there's not really much you're doing aside for jumping and floating occasionally.
You do get that cool power early on where you float in the little orb or whatever, right?
Yeah, so I got that. Yeah. Which is fine, and also the conversations are just not that fun.
Exactly.
Like Lost Judgment, there's a ton of conversing, and I enjoy watching the dialogue, and especially when there's animation to them. It's just always interesting. But in Sable, it's like the dialogue is like it starts with like a novelesque description of how Sable's feeling and how she feels about the environment. And I'm like, what are we doing? Just get to the dialogue. I'm like, I breathe heavily and blah, 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 blah. And there's no voiceover acting. It's all reading. So it's just kind of
like. So this is a Derek game, is what you're saying.
Derek's going to love this. It's going to be his goatee for sure. Yeah. So I do
this game is getting reviews all over the place. You'll have someone who reviews it and it's what they wanted. It's perfect. It's artistic. And then other folks who are like, the platforming's not that great, and the dialogue, and so it's got a pretty broad range if you look at the reviews, everywhere from like 9s, maybe even a perfect score somewhere, I'm not sure, down to like the 5s and the 6 range, and so it's all over the place.
Yeah, I feel like I need to put more time into it and finally get a bike to see, I don't know, what the game is truly trying to go for here. But at the start, it's just like, obviously there's no combat, so it's not like you're really doing anything. But there's too many other games on my plate where I'm actually doing something, so I'm going to play those instead.
A game like this that doesn't give me a lot of gameplay and action that I think is fun, then give me a story and characters I care about, and it doesn't deliver on those. So I agree with you that the art is very unique, and at times I'd even say like this looks really cool. Like I like what they did. Sometimes I was like, wow, that's a lot of brown. But
they do live in like a desert, so it makes
a lot of
sense.
beige. I'm sure there's some cool environments too if you keep playing the game. I'm sure it's not just that the whole time. All that being said, they don't do anything with gameplay that makes me intrigued, and the story and characters, to your point with the dialogue, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to read all this, and it's also not that interesting. It doesn't have to be funny, but it's not funny. It doesn't have to be super emotional, but it's not emotional. So, it just wasn't doing it for me personally. I can appreciate it. It's just not my thing. That's just my take on it. But what is my thing is Actraiser Renaissance, which was one of the coolest surprise announcements. $30 on PC, PS4, or Switch. I don't think it's on Xbox One. If it is, I'm sorry. You can go check it out if it is. I think they did what Soul Seraph was trying to do last year. So there was a company who clearly loves Actraiser and tried to create like a spiritual successor called Soul Seraph. Did not deliver. It was a very mediocre game in all aspects. It was a kind of a bummer because I thought, here we go, Actraiser, someone's finally doing it. No, this is Actraiser is one of the weirdest combinations of side-scrolling, kind of arcade sort of action, and then a top-down strategy and now tower defense. Because the tower defense piece wasn't really a strong element in the previous game. It was more about sort of a top-down, very slow-paced, I guess you can call it shooting, because you're an angel who's shooting arrows.
Right.
And you defend. You can use these miracle magic attacks and stuff like that. Now it's much more. They've added a whole bunch of stuff. These waves of enemies that will come, and you set up all these forts and tower defenses, and you have heroes that you tell where to go defend. And they added a bunch of elements to the strategy portion. From what I can tell so far, I'm almost to the end of the first. There's like 6 lands that you need to help restore. So I'm almost at the end of the first one. And from what I can tell, the action arcade stuff, when you take control of this statue soldier and battle your way through, that seems pretty similar. Yeah. It's still going to have some frustrating pieces, almost like you'd have in a Castlevania, where if you get hit, it might kind of throw you back. It's not going to play like a Dead Cells or a Dark Souls or something like that. It's much more arcadey. You know, think Ninja Turtles, think old school Castlevania. You know, you get hit and it's going to kind of knock you backwards, which can knock you off the edge of something, which can be super annoying. So as long as you have the proper expectations, a little more old school arcade style action sections, and then all of a sudden you are helping build a town, helping guide these people in building their town. It's really unique. It is not Sim City where you pick, here's the 3 materials I want to use to build that building. It is not that. You are literally God in this game. You're the Lord of Light, and you were banished. The Lord of Darkness essentially defeated you is what happened, and this angel is trying to help you get back to your place of prominence and take him down. And so you are being prayed to and requests are being made of you, and then you can send your spirit to control this soldier statue to go through and fight, or you can use your little angel servant buddy to shoot monsters out of the air. Animation is really cool. It almost has like a stop motion look to it. Sometimes it's a little weird to describe until you actually try it. I know it's not stop motion, but some of the stylings, especially of like when you have the demon dragon or skeleton monster flying over your city, you're like, it almost looks stop action the way that it's animated, moving over top of the city. I know that it's not, but you'll have to look for it for yourself to see what I'm saying. I really love it. It does what I wanted it to do. It remakes one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. I will fully admit nostalgia is probably painting a lot of this picture for me. There will be folks who will try this game and be like, what is this? Is it an action game? Is it a strategy? It doesn't know what it wants to be.
All of them.
Fine. I get it. I get that you might not like that. I love it. So
whatever. I think people are weird who don't like combinations of genres. I think that's what makes it unique and what makes it cool. I'm surprised that they didn't make more games like this. Like,
yeah. And I also had forgotten that Square originally had published this game, by the way.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, I recommend it's $30. Almost certainly will be on sale at some point. So if you're like most of us now, you got a lot of anywhere from medium to absolutely massive games you're trying to work through. Wait for a sale. This one is going to be, I would imagine, easily 50% off by the holiday, on some platforms. So feel free to give that a whirl. Let's talk real quick about Lost Judgment, one of the biggest game releases outside of the last one that we'll talk about with Kana. But you've had a chance, Kyle, especially to play Lost Judgment. You're our resident Yakuza lackey. Tell me about
Mhm.
Lost Judgment. Is it doing what you wanted it to do? Are you how far into it are you? Give me all the things.
So I'm about 7 hours and 45 minutes into it now, just under 8. I will immediately just get out in front and say this game starts slow. Starts very slow, but that's okay because they're introducing a lot of like mechanics and a lot of like what you're gonna be doing kind of like moment to moment in this game. A lot of Persona vibes because you're in a high school a lot and you're like joining clubs or like running clubs,
Really?
and participating in club like stuff, which is kind of weird because you're like a 38-year-old man.
I was gonna say.
But like you're more of like an advisory teacher kind of like side of things or whatever. There's a lot more like detective work that goes into doing side missions. So while there's like side missions like on the map, there's a little more like, hey, I have to like get into this like app and like read a keyword and triangulate that keyword across town and how many times it's being used. And if I crack that, then I get a side mission. So there's a lot more involvement in like how you get missions and stuff now. I mean, all the way down to like taking picture mini games to like I have to get the right shot right when he's smiling and like it's checking boxes so you know what you're doing. Like it's not just like Pokemon Snap where it's just like I thought I got everything in there and Pokemon Snap's like no. This is a little more intuitive, I would say, or a little more handholdy guidey, but like it's fun. There's a lot of stuff going on in this game that's awesome. They added a skateboard, so now you can skateboard around town.
Yeah, buddy.
That's pretty rad.
Gnarly.
I can't go back now. Like I can't like not have a Yakuza game with some sort of like faster mode of transportation.
Makes
and you're
sense
in
though
this,
because the map is massive.
Yeah,
compared to the
and
first
you're
one.
in the city that was the Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon City. So like
Oh,
I thought that
okay.
was very cool. I was like, oh, so now we get to play in this city, but like in the other combat form.
Yeah.
And that's been such a treat. So, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure they announced that, but it just like I'd never processed it or whatever. So like
Yeah,
now
I didn't know any
because it's like
of that.
it's the
Yeah.
first reveal of the game where you're like, all right, I guess we're going to another city. Like, it's in the first like couple hours of the game, so it's just like, oh, okay, this is cool. So like you're in an area that's immediately familiar if you've been playing these games kind of in order, but now you're playing it in this the old school Yakuza kind of beat 'em up fashion.
Yeah.
The combat's
And
amazing.
with
It's
skateboarding.
I was
very
gonna say, did
very
they add
flat.
anything?
Very flashy. The character in this is a kung fu guy, so it's like you're not just like a Kiru who's just like a street brawler. Like you're a guy who knows multiple different forms of like actual martial arts, and like the moves are very flashy and very cool. Nothing really different, I would say, but like just in terms of like its presentation, you're like, oh yeah, this is way more. You're jumping off of walls and doing wrestling moves and stuff like that, like stuff like Kiru could just never do. I don't know. I'm liking a lot about it, but I will say that people who are like starting it, you're like, what is this like? It's about like we're investigating bullying kids.
Oh my
There's
god!
a lot of commentary on like kids killing themselves because they're being bullied a lot, and I'm like,
which is very Persona 5, especially the
It
beginning.
is, yeah, and I get those vibes a lot from Persona because you're spending a lot of time, like I said, in a school interacting with people. Like I'm not saying there's social links, but like maybe there is later in the game. I don't really know. But like right now, like you are kind of like, all right, I'm in this club heading it. I need to like crack the case of this club of whatever's going on here.
So does this take place immediately after the first one, or is there some time in between?
I think it's 2 or 3 years. I think they keep on saying 2 or 3 years pass. I forget which one it is. 2 or 3.
Yeah, because some of the characters from the first game are like in a totally different place now.
Yeah,
like they have like their own detective agency and stuff. So
yeah. It's just a lot going on in this game. It's very content rich. Like I'm just looking at it going like, oh man, am I gonna like do everything in this game? Am I gonna have to cut the drone races? Because like I don't know. Like it just feels like I could easily spend 100 hours into this game, which like with all the things that are coming out, all the things I haven't gotten to.
The Judgment games are much more serious than Yakuza, right? In general, like they're much more serious.
I mean, I would say the first one was more serious, but this one's instantly kind of more silly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more silly things going on in this game.
That you meet up with said, "Hey, we need help with bullying." I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be silly."
Yeah, and it is. Like you're spending a lot of this game.
That's not a real thing.
Like you're beating the crap out of high schoolers. Like
like dude, there's a part where like you catch somebody bullying in the act on camera, and Kaito-san was like, "Man, Talk, we should go beat them up and teach them a lesson."
Like,
and Talk's like,
"Yeah,
dude." And I'm like,
yeah. They're like, "Yeah, let's go beat them up."
Dude, it happens in Cobra Kai. Why not in Judgment?
It's true.
You know what? Sometimes kids got to get his ass beat.
And there is a built-in mechanic where it's like there's snake like formation where it's like this is my I hold back my punches formation. Like it's really flashy and it's really fun to beat up the kids, but like the game, like the Ludo narrative dissonance, if you will, is like.
So you're
I'm
using
pulling my punches in this mode.
That's
You know?
so
quote
you're
for the
using
box.
the reverse blade sword. Is that what you're using? Kyle?
I'm using the. I'm not the Batosai. I am
Sure,
just pulling
sure.
tension. Yeah.
I really want that to be a quote on the box. Is it's fun to beat up kids.
It's fun
Yeah.
to beat up the kids. You know what? Hey man, screw them kids. You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
right.
They don't learn nothing.
They don't learn nothing.
Yeah, you just gotta
Can't
keep beating
reach
them up.
these kids.
So
reach
in
these
general,
kids?
it sounds like it's doing exactly what you want it to do, and you're loving it. Am
Yeah,
getting that
I
thought?
feel like I mean I just spent like the last 3 hours like not doing like main mission stuff. I'm just going around the city like doing the side stuff and like playing around with the apps and trying to triangulate more keywords that lead me towards more side missions. And I'm like, I'm gonna be spending a lot of time doing this,
Yeah,
and
there's a
that
lot
feels
going on in
good.
this game. Yeah.
I stopped in the arcade and played for like 30 minutes, like just and they have the full games, like full Virtua Fighter 5 and like full, you know,
Jeez.
like,
Whoa.
like the full games in these arcades that you could sit there and play
That's
hours
cool.
of. Also, you have a game system in your office, so you can like actually go and
You do,
purchase
yeah.
game cartridges to go play at home too. And those are different games that you find in the arcade. I got at this point, like in these Yakuza games, like you're just living in Tokyo. Like it's a Tokyo living simulator. You're hanging out
Yeah.
with you're hanging out with homeless people. You're eating food at your favorite like sushi
Ending
dive.
bullying.
You're ending bullying. You know, there's a lot of dead kids. You know, it's
No,
You
just
know
like
what, Kyle?
Japan.
Not enough dead kids.
not,
right?
you know, it's never enough to
Oh my god.
More quotes for the box. This is
Yeah.
great.
I love it. I'm having a great time with it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I can
Awesome.
see like people who are not into the series like playing this in the first 2 hours going like, this is exactly why I don't play these games.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could see that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. But that's not me.
fortunately,
I'm the guy
this
who's
game-
just like, yeah.
This game does have the opposite problem of Sable, where Sable has you do too little. This game is like, no, we're gonna throw everything at you.
Yeah, it's very overwhelming. And
yeah,
they
it can
knock out
be.
the tutorial very quickly. And I'm like, there's a lot of mechanics going on here. And you
Yeah.
can go into detective mode anywhere now. It's not just like set areas. Like you can just be
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go into detective mode and I can just it's almost
I've done
daunting.
it accidentally in a fight, so you can do it at any
Oh.
time.
Let's get out of first person. You're like getting pummeled.
I'm like, whoops, I don't want
That
to.
guy with a chair. By some teenager with a chair.
Boy, this is a lot of teenagers going on in Lost Judgment. In
Yeah,
one way or
you're
another.
again, you're a 38-year-old man beating up kids in this game.
Yeah.
So if that's your thing,
That's
there's a
the
lot
dream.
of that going on.
That's the
There's
dream.
definitely some cutscenes that kind of allude to the larger story, which I find fascinating.
There is a larger story going on that's like
Yeah.
the bigger case that is very fascinating. It has nothing to do with it has something to do with bullying, but like it's
It
a little
does.
more about murder and like
why
you know,
it's called Lost Judgment. Yeah.
yeah.
That's why they call it murder and not muck duck.
Fuck that.
Yes.
Exactly.
All right. So I do want to talk about Kana, and then whatever time we have at the end, we can say, hey, anything else you're playing or watching that we skipped, just to make sure we covered everything. But I want to talk about Kana Bridge of Spirits. This was
It's
a
great.
pretty major Sony exclusive that was announced. Of course, it's on PC as well. You can get it through the Epic Game Store.
Oh.
That was announced a while back, and it was one of those ones that I know that I saw right away. I was like, I'm gonna like this. I don't know if it's gonna be good. I just think I'm gonna like it, even if the gameplay is bad. Just looking at it, I could tell it looked like something that I was gonna enjoy. Thankfully, I can tell you now that I am not super far into it. I think I'm 2.5 hours of total playtime, maybe something like that.
You don't? Do you have the bow and arrow yet?
I do. Yeah,
Oh,
which
okay,
was a
cool.
really cool
Yeah.
section when you got that.
I
liked it a
actually
lot.
backtracked once I got that and unlocked way more
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So I actually not too far past that. I think I'm just at the part where I'm heading back to the guy's house after you get the bow and arrow. So
Oh, okay. I'm a little further ahead of you.
I think this game is just, first of all, it's gorgeous. One of the prettiest games. It's not perfect, and when you're in gameplay mode, it certainly isn't quite to the level of the cutscenes. Like, there's clear differences between the two. Like, if you're watching an in-game cutscene versus one of their fully animated ones, you can see the difference. It's just getting the margin, in my opinion, is getting smaller and smaller. It's really close.
Yeah.
So I think overall the vision and the environments are gorgeous. The gameplay, the character models, even the plants that kind of have these orbs you have to explode to get rid of the poison. All the design is just really pretty. It's just, man, this is a really pretty game. And for $40, you get a lot of game here too.
Yeah.
I've looked at some how long to beat stuff. There's a good amount of game here. Honestly, as I'm playing through the combat, especially, I'm like, hey, if Biomutant had played like this, I probably would have loved that game. But it didn't.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. I think the story is really interesting. There's a lot of lore here. It does kind of throw you in without giving you too
Barely
much
anything. Something about
exactly who you are, what you're trying to do. It's a little bit more like,
That's-
here's a
you're a
job.
guy. You're a guide
Yeah.
for spirits, and that's all you get. And then
That's
have
what I
fun.
heard from the
Yeah.
reviews, that there wasn't like a lot of exposition on like her, on Kana.
But you start to learn more, at least so far. You start to hear a little bit about her dad and how it's been multi-generations of them being spirit guides, and then there's these siblings that are looking for their older brother. So they start to introduce that stuff. I don't know if it's a purposeful thing or it was honestly just like, no, we thought we gave you everything you needed to get going. Like I don't know if it was just an oversight and maybe they didn't do as good of a job in the intro, or if they purposefully wanted you just to start experiencing things as Kana and then they'll reveal stuff to you. But this game is really charming, really pretty. And at first I thought the gameplay's above average to good, but actually I'm starting to think it's pretty great. Like I'm really enjoying the combat now that they've introduced some ranged attacks and now you can unlock not a ton of unlockables, but you can unlock some special skills which I think are fun. I'm loving
using your rot during combat is something that I forget a lot. But when you do, you're like, oh yeah, that's great. They can freeze up the enemy, and even the bigger ones you can freeze up.
I unlocked that hammer attack, which was awesome. And so
that one's great.
If you build up enough courage and then you use this big hammer attack using those little, in Jeff's background there, you can see the little creatures, the little rot.
Yeah, they're called rot for some reason.
Which is a hilariously, I don't know, opposite name for what I would have named these adorable little creatures. They're rot.
Yeah.
But anyway, you of course recruit them, and also there's tons of exploration that is rewarded, which I like because I feel like there's a lot of games recently that have a lot of corridors and places you can go and structures you can look behind, and they don't give you anything. It's just there if you want to walk back there. I feel like the people who made Kana were like, let's reward people who do the side path before they go to the obvious place first.
Yeah.
So I have felt like I am finding a ton of little bonus things, whether it's an extra little rot for my little crew or whatever. I
gotta tell you, I'm glad I beat Rift Apart before I played this, because this has a lot of the same Ratchet and Clank type stuff. Where like if you go off course and just do collectibles, it's rewarding if it rewards you for doing that for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of the collectibles are just aesthetic. Like you get these little hats, but I gotta tell you, I love putting on little hats.
Have them all wearing cakes on their head. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So I'm loving it. Anybody else playing it? I know Jeff, you definitely are. Any thoughts on it?
Oh yeah, it's great. I've just been really impressed with how it looks. When I had to research what the team is. Apparently, it's like 15 core team members. Wow. So they could be outsourcing other roles like QA and stuff. But as far as who made the game, it's like 15 core people. Yeah. So that's super impressive, especially as I'm scaling the mountain, going to that one guy's house who gives you the bow and arrow. You have to climb further up and up the mountain a little bit. And I'm just like looking around at waterfalls and stuff, and I'm like, how is this so freaking gorgeous? It's so crazy. Yeah. So it looks good, but it is definitely, like I said, I just finished Rift Apart. It's like a step down from that, obviously, but that game is just, it's Insomniac. So what do you expect? It's funny. That's like you're playing a genuine Pixar game. So
it's a good comparison. I was actually comparing it to Immortals a little bit as well. But then you got to take away pieces like, well, it's not an open world. It's not a Ubisoft open world game. But there are certain moments, whether it's the art style or the view, where I kind of just pause and go, look at that.
Yeah.
But then you think about Ubisoft making Immortals, how many employees did they have working on that game?
Right. Yeah.
Compared
Hundreds.
to what Ember Labs had. So you're right. It's incredibly impressive. Who cares if they outsourced some stuff? I hope they did, because that's insane.
I'm sure they did outsourced and contracted some certain roles that required it, but it looks, whatever they did with it looks great. And I actually like the combat, the melee in this more than I like the melee. This is more melee driven, I would say, than Rift Apart would. Rift Apart's like, just play with your guns, and the guns are fun. So I have no problem doing that. But in this game, it just felt better to like hit things and like in a faster fashion and be able to evade a little faster. It's a little more responsive in the melee department.
And some bosses aren't super easy.
No. There's one that constantly evades you and jumps from like portal to portal.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize you had to use the rod. Like I totally forgot that you could use the rod as a weapon to hold them in place. So I'm just like running and going, stop moving. Like
some fun boss battles already, and I'm curious to see if there's other really fun and creative boss battles. A little bit almost Zelda-like in terms of like find the weakness or figure out the pattern.
Yeah,
I know a lot of
there
games.
was one like almost like a Green Knight type enemy. I think they called him like a Wood Knight or Forest Knight or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Has a
he
big
had like a
giant sword.
glowing yellow part. If you shot it perfectly, it like exploded and knocked his health down like by a lot.
Because I was having trouble hurting him, and so
Yeah.
I used the bow and arrow, and my recently unlocked skill to slow down time while you're aiming and while you're drawing back on the bow, and then I hit that. You're right. That explosion was like, oh.
It's always satisfying.
Exactly.
Always satisfying.
Love that.
Yeah. All right, Kyle or Dan, are you playing this game at all?
I played
Not
a
yet,
little of
no.
it. I not enough to be able to say too much outside of what y'all have already said. It just looks really beautiful. I mean, I can see how they're like piecemealing out like here's this combat mechanic, and then you'll get this one, and I like that. To me, that's just good game design.
Yeah.
Like we just want to make sure that you get this, and so yeah, I'm interested to play more to get more kind of tools under my belt and experience what these rod are, because that seems like a very Pikmin-esque cool thing that's going on there.
Some but it's not nearly as I thought there'd be. Maybe there would be more later. I thought there'd be a lot more puzzles involving sending the rot to do different things. There's a few so far, but not a ton yet. Maybe there's
like moving a rock, and that's about it so far.
This game seems like it's almost like a test to be like, hey, Sony, like this is what we can do with a small team. Look at how beautiful it is. It plays really well. This interesting concepts. If it sells well, we're gonna expand our team and make like a sequel that really just blows it out of the water. So
yeah, because this is in the 80s on Metacritic. I mean, people are loving it for good reason.
Yeah,
and it's $40 full price. So
right.
It's very alluring at that price.
It strikes me as a potential PS Plus game down the road, probably.
Hope so.
Maybe. And definitely one that'll see a sale. But man, you get a lot. I think you're getting a lot. Even if the game only ends up being, let's say, 10, 12 hours total, which I'd be surprised by with how far I'm already in. I feel like I'm early on, but maybe I'm farther in than I thought.
Yeah, there's like 4 people you have to find, I think.
Yeah.
So I think just on the first one. Yeah.
Right. So who knows? I'm really digging it so far. I like it a lot.
Here.
All right. Last couple of minutes here. Anything, and I know we skipped a few that you put on the list, guys. So anything that you're watching or playing that you want to make sure you say something about?
I can get through mine really quickly. I'll just do the watching first.
Okay.
Dear Evan Hansen, I just put on here to tell people just to not watch it. Just it's not good. It's not good. I don't like it. It's not good. Ben Platt is a 37-year-old man. He's not. He's like 27, but he's a high schooler, and for some reason they gave him makeup to look sick, even though he's not sick. He's got a mental health issue, not a freaking
but no, mental
problem.
health is physical health, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
Weird messaging all in that movie.
Yeah, he just ends up being an emotional terrorist. I'm not all about making the hero of the story that type of person. It just I could never identify with him. It's bad. So just avoid that. I saw a movie called The Guilty early. It comes to Netflix in 2 weeks, I think. It's Jake Gyllenhaal plays like a 911 operator, and he gets a call from a woman that's like, I'm being kidnapped, but she's not saying that. She's acting like she's on the phone with like her daughter or something like that. And he's like, okay, I'm going to ask you yes and no questions. You're going to tell me where you're going to tell me what kind of car you're in. Is it a white van or whatever? And I don't know. He suddenly, something about his character, like who he is, just refuses to let that go. And he's like, I'm going to save this woman. So the entire movie is about him. It's just him on the phone. And
is this the sequel to Cellular?
No.
It's obviously a COVID movie, like where it's like single area, one person.
Actually,
listen, there are some good ones of that. Like I still liked Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. I don't care what you guys say. I actually
like that movie a lot.
And I also really liked that Tom Hardy one where he's in the car.
Locke, dude, Locke is so good.
Locke is amazing.
Oh man, that movie's too good.
So it's
I could not
possible
believe
to
how
do
good
it
that
well,
was.
right?
Yeah. Well, this is a remake that was already scheduled before COVID. This is a remake of a Danish movie. I highly recommend actually watching that one because this one makes Jake Gyllenhaal's character a dick for some reason. And you're like, you don't need to yell at people. Your job's already intense. We get it. It's an intense job. But there's reveals in the story as it unravels through phone calls that are that are just that'll take your kind of. I feel like the Danish movie does it better, but they kind of take your breath away a little, and make you go, whoa, like that's heavy. So it's I still think it's worth a watch, even though I feel like the original's better. But yes, Kyle and I watched Sex Education, and it's a really good show. I know a lot of people have been watching that show because it's British, but it is a very good show. It's highly entertaining.
Got the word sex in it. I can't.
And if you have a wiener, you'll be very happy with that show.
Well, thank God. Thank God for that.
Okay.
All right. Any other games or stuff that we're watching before we close it out?
I watched the new Candyman. It was good.
Oh my God, the movie's so good.
Probably one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time. Go watch that movie. Super good.
All right.
Definitely one of my favorites of the year for sure.
I'll keep it short and simple on that one.
Nice.
I'm about 48 hours into Tales.
Oof.
I fought the 5th Lord, and what's actually really cool is it felt like there was like it was almost kind of like feeling like it was the end of the game, and then nope, it's not. So and they actually even like threw in like an anime cutscene like that you normally see at the intro of it, like when you're watching an anime show. So suddenly there's like a huge shift in like sort of like, all right, so like now there's actually this extra adventure that's going to be going on. You thought we were going to end here after we, you know, saved Dana and like from all the lords and everything, and it kind of like flips it a little bit where like somebody else comes into play and some extra things get thrown in.
Nice.
Yeah, and just the vibes of it changed a little bit. It's almost actually, I haven't actually gotten to like sort of like, because I can obviously assume like where we're going to be heading once they kind of showed some extra stuff, but it's given me almost a little bit of like Phantasy Star vibes mixed in with like kind of that medieval fantasy. So if that's any sort of hint for you of kind of where it's potentially going.
Nice. I haven't given that one or Deathloop any more time this week, although they're still installed and I plan on playing them both.
Yeah,
more.
Deathloop for me too.
The characters. I mean, the progress. Like, there's definitely moments where it seems like suddenly they're really pissed about something, but then like there was a conversation a moment ago where they seemed really chill. But there's always a little bit of that discrepancy when it's a bigger game and there's a lot of conversations happening. But
especially
aside
when you can activate conversations whenever you want.
Exactly. But aside from that kind of minor discrepancy, like just the progression of the characters and them kind of like being like a little bit, you know, a band of, you know, like a family. There's definitely that vibe. It's done really well. The voice acting is really good. And just, you know, good story moments. It's definitely my favorite Tales game since Symphonia. Like, absolutely.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I wanted to mention I beat Rift Apart, and I'll be talking about it again and probably in the Game of the Year debates because I could not put that game down, and I was very surprised at how addicted I got to that game. It was so good. Insomniac, I mean, just on a whole other level, man.
Yeah.
I need to go finish it, but I do like it a lot too.
I feel like I'm pretty close to the end myself.
So. $200 million investment from Sony.
And Kyle, I just want you to back me up that Life is Strange: True Colors is really good, and the people that love the first game should play this one.
I hated this game, and I'm gaslighting you, Jeff.
Whoa! He had me.
No. The third game, I guess is the third. It's very, very good. I thought everything about it was amazing, and while it doesn't maybe have like some of the jaw-dropping moments that the first one had, like some like wheelchair scene that I won't go into, that's just like what?
And the very end.
Yeah. There's nothing ever like that. That it still tells an amazing story that's so coherent and so paced well that like by the end of it, I still had those like wow moments. They're just not like
nice.
They weren't different wow moments.
Just different, exactly. Calling it different is exactly right. Not better, not worse, different. The quality is so persistent that entire thing, and I think that exploring that little city, it was just divine. I thought everything about the level design in that game.
The level design was good.
So out of this world. So highly, highly, highly recommend that game. I'll be talking about that game at the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, I will for sure. Yeah.
Can we have a cozy towns category for our debate?
Should.
That one wins. Yeah.
We should. There are a few of those.
Rift Apart has a couple of those.
I am happy to play through Life is Strange: True Colors when it's not $60.
It will go on sale.
I get that.
It'll go on sale.
I will play it, but just not yet.
I wonder if it'll be on Game Pass or something too.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you guys for taking time out of your Saturday. Jeff, I know you're doing a show tonight, so good luck with your music and
thanks.
stuff.
I got doing 2 shows apparently, or maybe not. I don't know yet, but I'm definitely doing one at least.
At least one.
Godspeed, Jeff.
So go break a leg. If you don't follow Jeff on his Spotify or on his music page on Facebook, go check that out. Jeff is awesome. And
thanks.
Appreciate you guys taking time in the middle of a Saturday to record. Thank you all for listening. Always appreciate a rating, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Like, those things are always helpful. I've just never really taken the initiative to say, Go subscribe, smash that like button. Like
I said it before and I say it again. Go to your, even if you subscribe to us on iTunes or Spotify, whatever, just please go to YouTube so we can at least get 100 people on there. So we don't have to be like youtube.com/6G8792C. Like,
it's true.
you know, like just help us out, please.
If that was correct, I'm very impressed.
Help me.
Yeah,
help
it
you.
wasn't, but yeah, help me,
Okay.
help you, help me.
All right, guys, have a fantastic week. See ya.
Yes. Take care.
Boobies.